minutes to go. Can David Coulthard do it? Yes! Frentzen takes pole! Frentzen takes pole with 9 seconds to go. The World Championship is wide open. It's going to be a great, great race.
It's the last European race day of the century. We're at the legendary Nürburgring in the west of Germany. It's a four-way scramble for the world title. Hello there, good afternoon. The Formula One season is building towards a magnificent finale. There's a Finn, an Irishman, a German and a Scot who all believe they're going to be world champion. Now, racing in Europe at this time of year has its drawbacks. The weather, as you can probably see, is very unpredictable. But the rain gave us the best qualifying session of the year. It even contained a pit stop. James Allen reports.
Hands up who thinks Heinz-Harald Frentzen is going to win the World Championship. What may have seemed fanciful a month ago is starting to look more possible by the day. The German came out on top after the most chaotic and exciting qualifying session since France. The weather was the random factor. The track was wet at the top of the hour, and many drivers put in a banker lap, just in case the weather got worse later on. It didn't. Instead, the teams were forced to gamble on timing their runs to be out on the track when it was at its fastest. It was compulsive viewing.
Is it going to be a Jordan front row? Yes, it is at the moment, because Damon Hill is in pole position.
Ferrari opted for the harder of the two Bridgestone tyre compounds, which meant that Irvine could do a sequence of laps at the crucial time. The softer tyre was only good for one flying lap, so Heinz-Harald Frentzen had to do a dramatic pit stop for a new set of tyres. He was out at the right time because in the final 2 minutes, the pole changed hands 4 times, and there were some surprising winners and losers.
Here is Ralf Schumacher. What are we going to see? If he takes provisional pole, it will be amazing. And it is! My goodness! But now, what about Mika Häkkinen? You're looking at him now. He goes up into pole position. And now Coulthard. It is a McLaren front row at the present moment. The clock is going to stop in 15 seconds' time, and Frentzen has just had... Frentzen takes pole! Frentzen takes pole with 9 seconds to go.
From pole to 7th in the time it takes to say it, Formula One can be a cruel business. From a championship point of view, the biggest loser was Eddie Irvine, who failed to grasp the moment and left himself a mountain to climb today. In what has been a championship of mistakes and unlikely heroes, qualifying at the Nürburgring was another fascinating chapter, and this guy looks less and less like an underdog.
I mean, it was a chaos practice, but it's unbelievable that I'm on top of it.
Heinz decided to call the shots himself, so all credit to him. It wasn't the team today. It was he decided when he wanted to go and when he didn't want to go.
Conditions are like here, like that, very often, and so it made life very difficult. I think we failed in the qualifying.
It's very, very difficult in these conditions. It's more pressure on the drivers and the mechanics and the engineer and the whole team in conditions like this than at any other time.
The second last lap I aborted was a 20.4. You know, which would have put me second row of the grid.
If you get a time early on, you know you're going to get bumped down, and my time came early on, and then my next lap I got traffic, so I just had to sit and watch myself drop down the grid. But it's great that Heinz is on pole position. I mean, everyone is really buoyed up in this team now, and everyone's feeling very positive.
So here's how it all shakes out. Frentzen looking for his second win on the trot, but Coulthard is the wild card today. Häkkinen unsure what his teammates' intentions are, and Ralf Schumacher another star drive. Panis well up, and Fisichella looking strong. Damon Hill starts his last European Grand Prix today alongside his old pal Villeneuve. Irvine needs a big dollop of luck to get out of this one, and Trulli is the second Prost in the top 10. Wirtz and Salo on row 6, then Diniz and Herbert the best of the Stewarts. Rubens has the Blues in 15th with the Lacey 16th. Zonta and Zanardi trip off the tongue on row 9, and in the season-long dice for last place, the two Minardis once again eclipse the two Arrows.
And so that means Frentzen on pole at home, a genuine threat to the front two. Coulthard probably needing a win, otherwise he'll have to support Häkkinen's challenge. Qualifying a massive setback for Irvine. Watch though for Ralf Schumacher, he's had an impressive weekend so far. McLaren 6 points clear in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari are flagging, but Jordan are flying. 19 points and 2 podiums in the last 3 races. Behind Williams, an intense scrap between Stewart and Benetton. Just to remind you, 2 to go after today. The Malaysia at humid Sepang, and then the Japanese at the end of next month. Latest race odds from the bookmakers Ladbrokes. Häkkinen odds on he was to start with, now 11 to 10 against. Coulthard 5 to 2. Frentzen 3 to 1 from 8s. Ralf Schumacher 12 to 1. Damon Hill 14s to win on his European finale, and Irvine out from 9 to 2 to 16s. Well, this is what it looks like now. It's chilly out there. 13 degrees. We've had a lot of rain, but it's dry at the moment. The truth is, though, nobody knows. We are all guessing. Welcome to the ITV studio. Definitely the place to be this afternoon. Tony Jardine with me as always. Hello, Tony. And a special guest as well, Jackie Stewart. Lovely for you to join us today, Jackie. Just give us your feelings about the run into the championship. Who do you fancy?
Well, I think Häkkinen's got the best chance. He's with the most powerful team, probably the best organised team, most consistent team. David Coulthard with him on that team really is a big asset. But, you know, they've tried very hard this year to lose the World Championship. I've never seen a team work so hard. I think that Frentzen could do well here in front of his German crowd, but I think also that you might be surprised by Irvine. He was on the harder tyre, and that's what he chose, and that's why he's as far back as he is. So I think he could play a role in this if it stays dry for the whole race, and right now it doesn't look too good.
That's the big question, of course. Thanks for the moment, Jackie. Well, of course, succeeding in sport at the highest level is a combination of many factors. The individual psychology comes into play, and producing under pressure, well, that's pretty high on the list as well. So we wonder, who is going to crack first? Here's James Allen.
Pressure. Sometimes it gets too much, especially in the final stages of a World Championship you should have wrapped up by now. Mika Häkkinen's tearful retirement from the Italian Grand Prix was uncannily similar to the way he reacted when he crashed within a lap of victory in a Formula 3 race in Macau 9 years ago. With so much at stake, failure brings the emotions to the surface, even in top sportsmen.
They are highly motivated to succeed, and you can see the disappointment and frustration in very successful sportsmen. John McEnroe in tennis was a case in point. It mattered so much to him that if somebody gave him a bad call, it was almost the end of the world. I think sportsmen are in a highly competitive situation, which is really a simulated battle, and they're so hyped up that their emotions are already very close to the surface and can easily spill over into relatively uncivilized forms of behavior like aggression or perhaps crime.
This is the pinnacle. This is you're close to the summit. You can see it, and some people might never make it, and some people do, and you know, you just don't know what's going to happen, and it's all closing down to with measurable time, like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 24 hours, 5 hours, 1 hour. You know what I mean? It's the pressure builds, and your whole life could hinge on one event. It's never over till it's over, and a lot can happen. But you could have been going backwards in your points tally, or you could have been going forwards, and it's always easier for the guy who's going forwards, who's catching the other guy up, because you have the momentum and the belief that you've got nothing to lose. You're second already, so the other guy's the guy who's got sleepless nights.
Frentzen was my teammate for 2 years, and he's very mellow. It seems like nothing perturbs him, nothing. He doesn't get on a high, but doesn't get on a low either. So that could be very, very good for his championship fight.
Mika is a very tough player. We saw in Monza. Behind that facade is a man who feels everything, and he's really emotionally involved with what he's doing. David, desperately wants to be there, but he hasn't got there yet. Eddie feels like, it gives the impression that he hasn't got a care in the world, and, he's got nothing to lose. But I'll tell you, he wants to win that championship, and he knows this might be his one and only opportunity.
Well, Jackie, you've got Eddie Irvine in your new Jaguar team next season. Has he got it up there, the mental toughness to do it this time?
I think he has, and I think he's been well trained for it, being with Ferrari, because the emotions within Ferrari are very extreme, and I think he's had to suffer a lot having the culture of Michael Schumacher with the Ferrari alliance very much focused on Schumacher himself rather than Eddie. I think mind management is the most important thing of all. When I saw Schumacher, for example, getting out of his car there after he ran into the back of Coulthard and really wanting to go and get at Coulthard, that was really a bad sign for me, because he's not in control. Emotions are the most dangerous things, particularly in a racing car.
Well, talking about not being in control, perhaps people might think Mika Hakkinen wasn't in control of his emotions last time out.
Well, I think you've got to get rid of the peaks and valleys as a driver. You can do other things on the sidelines, but you cannot while you're driving. And I think the sports psychiatrist and psychologist has a lot to do within motor racing. We don't have trainers. We don't have people like we have in tennis or golf or football. These fellas are allowed to go out there and try and manage it on their own, and it isn't easy.
Can I nail you down for one name from the four to lift the title this year?
Mika Hakkinen.
Okay, you got the name right. That's fair enough.
Don't ask me to spell it.
No, I won't. All right, okay. A new name in Formula One, but a very familiar name to a lot of people, is Jaguar.
Yep.
And you're going to be part of that Jaguar team when it arrives next season. British Racing Green in Formula One, eh?
It's very exciting, because I think Jaguar as a brand has an immense amount of passion to it. Maybe Ferrari's got a great deal of passion, but Jaguar also, even though they've never been in Formula One before, so it's going to be a very important entry to Formula One, and I think it'll be a great asset. So we're looking forward to the car. It's not going to be exactly as you see it on screen. It's going to be a little different than that, but nevertheless, I think it's going to be a great big boon for Formula One for bringing in a new audience too.
Nevertheless, I can remember you starting out with us in Melbourne in '97. I mean, you must be a little bit sad that the Stewart name that you built so hard to get to Formula One is going to be wiped out.
Ironically not. I mean, really? I'm very compartmentized in my life, and I think it was a part of my life we worked, Paul and I, very hard to create. And we did it, and we're very proud of what we achieved, but we had to move it on if we were going to be competitive with Ferrari and McLaren, for example. To do that, we needed to step up. Ford Motor Company were the people we went to. They're creating the money and the support that we can get our team really up to the top end.
How big a part are you personally going to be of the new team, Jackie?
I'll still be chairman and still will be chief executive officer. The team will run out of Milton Keynes, and the management team we have there will continue as before. But obviously, hopefully, we're going to get help from our parent, not only in technology and money, but also in ways of doing things.
Your team briefly has got a bit to do this afternoon, hasn't it?
Pardon me?
Your team has got a bit to do this afternoon here.
It has. We're too far back. We made a choice of going with a hard tyre, as actually Ferrari did also. So I think what's going to happen is, if it were to stay dry for the whole race, we won't do badly. Okay. But the chance of that happening is remote.
I know you've got to return and get over there to the grid, but before you go, I know you're very keen to deliver a special message, Jackie.
There's a wee boy called Tom down in North Devon who's not at all well. Tom came to see us at Silverstone, and I hear you haven't been so well in the last few days, Tom. Really, from all of us in the Stewart Ford team, a big hug, and you keep trucking.
Well done, Jackie. Listen, we appreciate your presence here today, and good luck this afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, then. Well, now the latest episode in what has been a very popular series indeed, Martin Brundle's F1 driving school. Now, you might have listened to Murray and Martin doing their commentaries and hear them talking about oversteer and understeer. This one's for you, then.
Now, the balance of a Grand Prix car is absolutely critical. What does that mean? It means the front and the rear tyres sliding together in unison, so you're in balance. You'll hear Murray and I always banging on about understeer and oversteer. Let me explain that to you. Put yourself where I am in the racing car. You want to go around a right-hand corner, you turn the wheel, but the car won't go in enough. The front tyres begin to scrub across the road. It's not steering enough, it's understeering. You have to put more steering angle in. Bad news, you're scrubbing off speed, you're damaging the front tyres, and you have to wait a long time to get on the power.
We've intentionally set this Jordan up to understeer, turning into Priory here. Look, I've got a lot of steering lug on. The car won't go where I want it to. and beginning to run wide again. That damages the front tyres, and you cannot carry speed through the corner.
Over several laps, of course, the more you damage those tyres, the more it understeers. It's a snowball effect. Let's see what it means in race conditions. Fisichella turns in. He's got enough steering lock on now and has to crank another quarter of a turn on the steering wheel to get around the corner, pushing the tyre sideways down the road momentarily. There are two main ways to reduce understeer. Aerodynamically, lower the car a little bit to pick up downforce, or just simply add angle of attack to the front wing, generating more aerodynamic downforce. Track conditions can vary during the race. Watch the Jordan mechanics alter the front wing of Damon's car to change the balance accordingly. Alternatively, you can soften the front suspension to pick up mechanical grip, springs and shock absorbers especially. Anything to give the front tyres more grip, or you can do the opposite and give the rear tyres less grip. Changes are small, a few percent stiffer or softer on the suspension, a millimetre or two on the ride height. Then you have oversteer, which is on the exit of the corner normally, generated by throttle movement more often than not. Again, let me put you where I am behind the wheel. You're going through a right-hand corner, you get on the power too early, and though you're still turning right, you end up putting left-hand steering lock in. The car is turning from the back, it's oversteered through the corner, and you have to steer out and correct it.
Now we've set the Jordan up to oversteer. That means the back end's going to be too lively. I've got to be careful on the throttle. If I get on the throttle too early, the back is going to slide. I have to correct immediately. And as soon as you have to lift the throttle, you've lost time.
Understeer and oversteer can occur on the way into a corner, through the apex and on the exit. Let's watch Pedro Diniz now turning into this left-hander and almost immediately having to put right-hand lock in. That is serious turn-in oversteer, then mild understeer through the apex. So what can you do to fix the oversteer? Well, the first thing you can do is try and drive more smoothly, be more progressive on the throttle. But if that doesn't work, you've got to start adding rear downforce, putting elements into the rear wing, into the cascade, giving you more downforce, pushing those rear tyres down. Or, for more mechanical grip, soften the rear end a little bit, spring, shock absorbers, anti-roll bar. Or, conversely, you can give the front end less grip. That can also help the rear. In any event, if you hit the sweet spot on the balance, you'll get a lot more confidence. You take more speed into the corners and your lap time starts tumbling. Let's enjoy a beautifully balanced car. Hakkinen, McLaren, Spa. Heavy braking into the bus stop, totally stable. Turns in crisply, over the curbs nicely. No wheel spin on the exit, no understeer, no oversteer. Direction change good. The car is perfect. Hakkinen is very happy.
And Martin's grid walk coming up shortly. Well, we'll be hearing from him shortly. Heinz Harald Frentzen just emerging to have a little feel of the circuit here, and it's dry at the moment, as you can see. The last Formula One date in Europe this year, and when you rejoin us, we'll take you on a flying lap of the Nürburgring. Schumi's army is here in force, despite the fact their man Michael is missing and is increasingly unlikely to drive again this season. But some consolation now. Here's Martin on a flying lap with Michael Schumacher, last year's pole sitter.
Sadly, Michael Schumacher is not racing this weekend, but we can still enjoy one of his laps from last year. Down the short pit straight here at the Nürburgring, up to 185 miles an hour, Schumacher gets rid of a tear-off. All you can see into the first corner are grandstands, but you must touch this point now at the Castrol chicane. Be super accurate, run up to the curb on the outside and accelerate to 170 miles an hour. Brake down to 115. It's like a fairground ride through this left-hander, feeding you into the forward curve. 75, stay inside initially, let the car run high, and now see just how easily he can upshift as the car builds speed downhill into the Dunlop hairpin. Brake desperately late, just 60 miles an hour, stay inside initially, let the car run high now, a little bit bumpy on the exit, and swing over to the right, ready for turn 6 and 7, 150 mile an hour chicane. A slight breather on the throttle for Michael. Over to the right-hand side again for the RTL curve. Lose 100 miles an hour as you come down 3 gears. Don't run too high. You've immediately got the bit curve. A right-hander, take 100 miles an hour through the apex. Use the curb on the outside to reduce the sliding and build speed once again. 175 miles an hour. This right-hand sweeper is very easy. Pick your braking point for the Vidal chicane. Now, come down the gears, just 60 miles an hour. Be accurate. beautifully done by Michael. No wheel spin on the exit, up to 140 miles an hour into Coca-Cola. Stay inside, 75. Now let the car run out. Over the curb, the grass street, even a little bit of grass. Across the grid hatchings, over the start-finish line, into a new lap.
Well, in Michael Schumacher's absence, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is the prime German hope. Winner at Monza, the pole setter here. Frenzen's had a magnificent, almost faultless season. He's a man and a driver transformed. Louise Goodman caught up with him after qualifying.
He's very much the man of the moment, and after that race win in Monza, Frenzen's in with a shout for the championship. But does he see himself as a contender?
Being here at Nürburgring on pole position, I have to say we are looking damn good at the moment, but I don't want to look that far ahead. I mean, we're still sitting in the Jordan, and I have really difficulties to explain that situation, because just 5 minutes before the end of the qualifying, I haven't thought that we're going to be that good.
What are your chances in the race?
Well, I think we're trying to we can't gain anything at the race, so at the start, from where we are, and I do just try to have a good start tomorrow and just trying to keep the McLarens behind me. I believe they will push. They will push.
At the beginning of the year, all the talk was the aim was to finish third in the Constructors' Championship. Have you now revised what your aims are for this season?
Well, that's still our aim. We are not able probably to be second in the championship, and for us being third in the championship, that means another big step forward. We're going to have more prize money for developing the car, and that is very important for us to be in even better shape next year.
But you weren't even talking about the Drivers' Championship. I mean, that's got to be in the equation now, hasn't it? Have you not shifted from constructors to drivers?
Well, I mean, the Drivers' Championship is another story. I think we have still 3 races to go, and I don't want to think about it at the moment. We're trying to do from each race to each race a superb job, and that's it. I don't want to think more.
It's been very noticeable to me walking around the circuit over this weekend. There are loads more yellow caps than you normally see at this race. Also, the crowd reaction this afternoon when you got the pole position, they went absolutely crazy. What's it like to be performing so well in front of your home crowd?
I've only 2 words. Very nice.
Are you aware of the response that you're getting?
Well, actually, at that moment, I was still racing, so I was trying to do another lap when I didn't know I was on pole position by this time. So I only got informed when I came into the pits, and I saw some lightnings going on, but it was nice. Yeah.
What about when you get out on the grid tomorrow? You looking forward to that?
Yes, I mean, I'm going to have the best position, starting position this year, and it is nice to be on that position.
He's on the grid now. Is that the world champion?
Well, it could be. You never know. We said he was the dark horse coming down the rails on the blind side. But he's responded incredibly to Jordan's treatment, very, very well. But there was a huge ruck yesterday. He was shouting the odds there because he wanted to dictate when he went out. And Trevor Foss, the managing director, said, time to go out now, and he crackled over the radio. There's another one who doesn't know what he's talking about. He apologised afterwards. But what I want to see now is him really fighting out there today, not just settling for a place. And then he will be really complete. The last 10% of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, great driver.
Okay, Tony, thank you very much. So what sort of strategy can we expect here today? 2 stopping the norm here at the Nürburgring. Ferrari, though, they need to make up ground. Are they going to try something just a little bit different? Here's James once again.
Well, folks, for once, I can't tell you what lap the cars are going to stop on for one simple reason. I don't think the teams even know themselves at this point. If it was a dry race, it would be a no-brainer, a 2-stopper. You come in around about lap 24. But like this today, wet, dry, do you go with these wet tyres or possibly the dry tyres? What you don't want to have to do is make a scheduled stop and then have to come in again because the weather conditions have changed. So what you need to do is be flexible. Put about 90 kilos of fuel in at the start and play it by ear. You're going to watch it with us. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how the strategy unfolds. All I can really do today is give you some hunches. Irvine, to fill the car with fuel and run a very, very long first stint. He's on the harder tyres. He can afford to do it. And Frentzen, him and the McLarens will match each other for strategy because he wants to match their pace too.
A lot of guesswork going on around here. Best guess that from James Allen. Okay, let's have a word with Damon Hill very emotional day for him, this one, his farewell to European F1 racing.
A little bit further down the grid than you would have liked to have been. What can you do from here?
Well, I can do quite a lot. The cars that are ahead of me, I think, might not have been there if it hadn't been for the wet session. But I'm quite pleased to be here because when it's a dodgy session like it was, you could always end up on the back, you know. So I'm not too disappointed. I'd like to have been up where Heinz is, of course, but I've been happy with the car this weekend. I've enjoyed driving it.
Any worries about the first corner?
Always the same problem with the first corner here, but I'm on the good side of the grid, so you never know. I could be in the right position here.
Good luck.
Yes, good luck to Damon Hill. Ricardo Zonta with plenty to do, starting 17th in the VAR. I think we can go down live now, down there to Martin. I think you got Michael Schumacher down there last year. Martin, who's your target this time round?
I'll talk to anybody, you know me. Welcome to the grid, everybody.
They won't all talk to you, though.
Well, that may be the case, but we can live with that. If you join me on the grid in Monza, you'll remember the grandstands of people in the colour and the flags, and it's completely different here. Keith, show them. You've got a hotel, a museum, and there's the commentary box. Hello, Murray. We'll see you in a minute. I hope you've recovered from that exciting qualifying session yesterday. There's 4 contenders now for this World Championship, and the same atmosphere's down there on the grid. Everybody looking at the sky, what's it going to do? Slightly looking over their shoulder, what's going to happen? And Irvine, this is very unusual. Irvine, late to the grid, that's not so unusual. Been taking wing off. I think a lot of the teams going for a dry setting, staying in the car, not even getting out, and very much, I think, trying to get his head into this race, because he's 9th on the grid, 5th row. Doesn't sound very much, does it? But I want to sort of wander along and try and give you an understanding of just how far behind that really means. I mean, we're going to walk through the people, but it's so difficult to overtake here. We saw in the Formula 3000 race yesterday a good example of faster cars just unable to get through the pack, and this is what Irvine's going to have to get through. A lot of good runners. Panis is a bit out of position in a way. He's up here in 5th place in the Prost and been going extremely well, completely out of a drive, of course, for next year, so contract time coming up. But Panis is in a surprise position, but Ralph going well. And then this is where Irvine's 3 competitors for the World Championship are, and he's just been progressively having a worse and worse time. Now, it's the 2 outside contenders, really, Coulthard and Frentzen, who are on the front row of the grid. Hakkinen, the world champion, easily the fastest car here in the dry, but he's only made it onto the 2nd row. Who's going to win this World Championship? Bernard, who's going to win the World Championship?
The one with the most points, I'm sure. I don't know who it's going to be, though, at the moment.
All right, thank you for that valid contribution.
I knew you couldn't work it out.
No, I couldn't. That's why I asked you. See you later. So, I think that just about sums it up, actually. Nobody really knows for sure, but curiously, we've got the 2 outside contenders, say, on the front row of the grid. Coulthard 12 points behind, and Frentzen 10 points behind. Frentzen on pole. In the Parc Fermé yesterday, he looked like absolutely nobody was more surprised than him than to be on pole. Pulled a few ace manoeuvres. I'm not sure he's going to talk to me, to be honest, but I'm going to try. Harry Hines, any chance of a quick talk?
Well, yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. So, you looked a bit surprised with pole position yesterday. Was it just the conditions or what?
Well, all sort of surprises were yesterday, because we didn't have a lot of running yesterday. We had an engine change between 1st and 2nd practice, so I didn't go out in the 2nd practice. And on Friday we did have a gearbox change and stopped the whole 1st session. So we don't actually have so much running time on this track.
Yeah, but you know it well, obviously, one of your local tracks. Can you win this race? Can you win this championship?
Well, we will see after that race. I mean, that race is very important. I think we have a strong car here for this race. My predictions were a little bit like that I was saying that the McLarens are going to be very, very strong. I still believe they are very, very strong, and they didn't have shown their potential yet. And I have to say that it's going to be a very tough race for me.
Yeah, OK, you're on the front row, of course. You've got the outside line into the 1st corner. You've got your nose ahead already. Can you beat them in a straight fight? Hang on, Mick, we're just finding out if he can beat you in a straight fight. Can he beat you in a straight fight?
Well, Heinz just told me he's in a 1 stop, so it's all right.
1 stop. Oh, that's all right. How many stops are you making then, Mika? OK, mate, thanks. So, can you beat these guys in a straight fight?
Well, we have to see. I mean, the fight will be the strategy, the right strategy. I knew that McLaren was going was running very late in last year and beat the Ferrari. I don't know if they're going to do that this time, but strategy is very important in that game here.
Okay, thank you, and back to you in the studio.
And thanks to you, Martin. So there we are. It's lovely at the moment. Showers are forecast. The first corner here at the Nürburgring, notoriously tricky. The European Grand Prix is almost ready to roll. Still dry at the Nürburgring. They're on the grid for the European Grand Prix. We have a competition coming up after the race, but now let's have a chat with Murray, shall we? I tell you what, Murray, you never cease to amaze us. We know what you were doing last Sunday. The Goodwood Revival meeting, and there you are wearing number 22. What's all this about then?
Oh, Jim, I never knew you cared. This is fantastic. Me on a Manx Norton, and look, with Barry Sheen, Gerhard Berger, Sammy Miller, John Surtees on the MV4. I was achieving my ambition, pathetically slow. I'm wobbling along a bit there.
You're going all right, don't worry about that.
I mean, Goodwood is one of the high points of the year. Look, I never ever thought I'd see that. This is the first time I've seen this.
We like to do these little things to get you sharp for the race.
I feel about 10 feet tall. There's Damon Hill there, number 1. There he is, there's the man.
And you took part in it and you chatted about it as well, Murray, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, Jim, and it was a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It always is. If you haven't been there, you must go.
I will definitely come there next year, Murray. Now listen, the European Grand Prix is just around the corner. Murray Walker and Martin Brundle, you both have a great race. Enjoy it, won't you?
Well, hear this from the Nürburgring. This is the official weather forecast. Mist, fog, showers, thunderstorms, sunny spells. In other words, they're covering their options, and it's not surprising because the Eiffel Mountains can and will throw anything at you at any time. As you can see there, it is bright and sunny at the moment. Incidentally, we learned from Martin there, never ever try to best Bernie Ecclestone. Who's going to win the World Championship? The one with the most points. Yeah. So, who is that going to be? Well, Frentzen is very much the dark horse in pole position, 10 points behind Eddie Irvine and Mika Hakkinen tying for the lead, and David Coulthard is just 12 points. Any behind, any one of the four could win it. And the situation now is that Heinz-Harald Frentzen, as you know, is sitting there on the grid. One of his rivals, David Coulthard, is alongside him, slightly further back. The main rival, Mika Hakkinen, is behind him, and Eddie Irvine is playing a long shot. He's starting 9th on the grid after a pretty sad qualifying period. He's opted for the harder tyre compound, as has his teammate Mika Salo, who is starting from 12th on the grid, and the two Stewart cars. Everybody else is on a much softer compound tyre. Now the result is that we might have one-stop strategies. We'd expect them round about lap 33 in this 67-lap race. We might have two-stop strategies round about, give or take a few laps, laps 24 and 42. But as ever, the start is going to be vitally important. This Grand Prix circuit is no easier to pass on than most of the rest of them. They are all very difficult because the cars have got virtually identical performance and the drivers are the best drivers in the world. And the higher up the grid you get, the better they are, and therefore it is even more difficult to pass. What's your guess?
I think Irvine may have made a very smart move as the way the weather's turned out with the harder tyres. We'll see. I know the softer tyres, they tend to go away quite quickly. They were using them yesterday. I mean, Frentzen's pole position really is courtesy of them doing a racing stop at the end of, just near the end of qualifying, putting on a fresh set of tyres. But they're going away quite quickly, and although then, as they lose their grooves, as they effectively lose their tread, if you like, they start to get faster again, more rubber on the road. Irvine's so far back, though, can he actually make anything of that? That's going to be his problem. He's got some good cars in front of him. I have to think that the McLarens could have more sheer pace. than Frentzen and be putting him under an awful lot of pressure. And there's no doubt about it, Hakkinen is the fastest man around here this weekend on a bone-dry track.
Yeah, fastest on both sessions on Friday, both sessions yesterday, except the one that matters, of course, the qualifying session. He was fastest in the 2 morning sessions. And the Bridgestone people, actually, just before I came into the box, said, if you're talking to Eddie Irvine, you might ask him why he's on the harder compound, because it's baffling us. They said logic and common sense indicates that he should be on the softer compound. So maybe Eddie Irvine knows something that we don't know. Maybe he's just gambling, taking into account the fact he's 9th on the grid. But whilst I say that it's difficult to pass in Grand Prix racing, it's more than possible. Remember, we've seen Nigel Mansell in a Ferrari starting from, what was it, 12th on the grid in Hungary and winning the race. We've seen Michael Schumacher starting from 16th in Belgium and winning the race. So expect anything to happen in this race, and it very likely will, especially weather changes.
I love the psychology of Hakkinen on the line there, coming to find Heinz Harald to shake his hand. It's we're friends, aren't we? It's a very clever move by Mika, and then throws in the line of, well, I think I might beat him. He's on a one-stop strategy, which immediately makes Frentzen start questioning his strategy, whatever he's chosen or whatever. A nice, apparently friendly little move that will just put a few doubts in the mind of the competition, and something he used to, I think, great effect on the grid in Suzuka last year when he took the championship from Michael.
Yeah, but let's not forget that there's all sorts of emotions boiling under that seemingly placid Finnish exterior. As I saw at Macau in 1990, you saw it earlier on, and as we saw last weekend, the weekend before last in Italy. So, any moment now, because this is the formation lap.
I'm just saying to Coulthard, I'm amazed how much rubber there is down on the right-hand side of the track off the start line. So I don't really see those on the right-hand side, because it's completely off the racing line. I don't see them having a particular disadvantage in the charge down to the first corner. But there is one point to be as you turn into that first corner, the Castrol S, and there's no room for anybody else, and it's slippery on the outside there, and the scene of many an incident in the first corner, although we've seen the drivers impeccably well behaved this year. But remember, was it last year where Ralf Schumacher took Michael out of the race? I think it was here, and in reality cost him the World Championship at that point.
You know, lots and lots of people have been going off in practicing and qualifying at that final chicane before the last corner. Turn 13 on the track.
Yes, it was 2 years ago. Of course, the two Schumacher brothers ran into each other. So a tricky corner, tricky first corner, and the rest of the lap, a very sweeping. Yeah, it's quite dark out there, isn't it? It's a very sweeping lap, and very difficult to really make up time on your enemies around here. But this corner is very, very critical. If you can come out of that one well, the bit curve is a long sweeping right-hander downhill curve there into the Vidal chicane, a big braking area, and if your car's faster through there and better under braking, it is a clear overtaking opportunity.
Well, remember, Heinz Harald Frentzen in pole position, which he certainly was not expecting to get, has got everything to gain and nothing to lose in this race. Psychologically, he's on a high. There is Damon Hill riding in 7th position behind Giancarlo Fisichella.
Now, those curbs we just saw Damon bounce across, we've seen 3 cars lose their front wings there this week, where they're damaged going across the curbs and then fall off down the pit straight when they get over 150 miles an hour as the downforce arrives with a vengeance. So they can't go through there too hard. You'll see cars leaping across them in the race. They need to be careful. But if you're going to outbrake yourself and miss that chicane, you've really got to miss it properly and go diving across the grass. If you try and half-heartedly go around it, you will damage the underneath of the car, and I think you're going to see some of that through the race.
So Heinz Harald Frentzen leading the race away, pole position for only the 2nd time in his career. Enormous responsibility, the yellow Jordan.
Yeah, Hakkinen's a long way forward in his start box. He's right on the very, very front edge of the zone that he's allowed to be in. You can see him there, 3rd on the grid. They've been on the grid now well over half a minute already, and that's a long time to be sitting there in neutral, just ticking.
Lights on, 1, 2, set 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, and the lights are still on, and Frentzen has jumped the start. Häkkinen has jumped the start. Now, they were on for a fantastically long time. There is a mandatory period when those lights must go out. And my view, they did not do so. I've never seen this before. Frentzen got away very quickly. Häkkinen is alongside him. Are they both going to be penalised?
Well, it was like, there's the orange lights on, look, it's like a hair trigger start in a 100-metre race. Frentzen moved, Coulthard moved, Häkkinen went for it, and the rest of the grid is absolutely stationary. So, but the lights were on an amazingly long amount of time.
No doubt about it. I don't know whether the switch stuck. Charlie Whiting is the man who starts the race director, an enormously experienced chap.
But that's an automated process. Once he started the sequence of the lights coming on, the rest of it is fully automatic.
Well, automatic or not, let's have a look and see what happens. You see, Panis gets away too behind Häkkinen, and Schumacher gets away. David Coulthard was the only bloke who didn't move in the first 6.
No, Coulthard did move forwards, and Ralph managed not to run into the back of him, which was well done. And there was a Sauber further down the field charging through the middle. I would imagine that was probably a Lacey. The restart will be at 9 minutes.
9 minutes past 2 o'clock our time. That's 1 o'clock UK time, and different other times all around the world where you're watching us.
Now, will there be any kind of jump start penalties in there? We're going to take a quick break while they're sorting that out.
Now, we've seen a replay of the starting formation. The people at the back seem to be taking a long time to get into position, but the procedure should allow for all that. All I can tell you at the present moment is that the restart is going to be in 2 minutes, just under 2 minutes' time. There'll be another formation lap, of course, and as far as I know, subject to official correction, the race will still be over the previous 67 laps, because they've just done the one formation lap.
So I think they'll reduce it by a lap and do another formation lap, so the next formation lap will constitute the first lap of the normal race, I think, Murray. I doubt they will have been allowed to refuel on the grid.
No, they haven't been, in which case the race distance would be 66 laps, and the half distance for that one-stop strategy, if they come in round about that time, would be 33 laps. But again, we just don't know. You heard James Allen saying earlier on that there may well be a long stint, and we've got news from James in the pits.
Yeah, Murray, the race will be 1 lap less, exactly as Martin was saying. I just talked to Ross Brawn. I said, what's the rule on this, Ross? He said, well, first of all, you can't jump an aborted start. So anybody at the front who jumped the start, they won't be sent to the back because that race is effectively annulled. Somebody had their hand up. We think it's somebody at the back of the grid, but obviously when the grid pulls away now, you will see, and it looks like it might, well, I can't tell you. You get the wide view of it, you look who it is that's being sent to the back of the grid.
OK, well, the people at the back of the grid are Pedro de la Rosa in the arrows and his teammate Takagi, who are on the 11th row. And on the 10th row, the two Minardis, as we look at... Oh, it's probably Marc Genet.
Yes, I think you're right, Murray. I think it's Genet who's going to be effectively put one row.
Yes, it is.
Yes, there's
see the yellow flag being held by the second car up from the right-hand side. That's Marc Genet, who I assume caused the problem in the first place.
Yes, he must have had his hand up right at the back of the grid. We didn't see waving yellows on the start. I certainly didn't. And then I think what happened is the front guys triggered each other to go, as I say, like a 100-metre race. But Ross is quite correct. You can't be guilty of jumping a start that hasn't actually happened yet.
Well, I don't know. Here we are. Here's another look at it. You see, there we are. You can see Marc Genet at the back, and he's on the left-hand side as you look at the screen, on the right-hand side if you were on the grid, last but one. Anyway, we rejoin the second formation lap. That's Damon Hill there going round in 7th position, and you can see from the lack of sunshine on the track that there's heavy cloud over the lowest point of the circuit there. That is the long double right-hander hairpin.
Yes, often as you're just about to clunk the car into first gear, you can't have too many revs on, otherwise it makes it difficult for the gearbox. But if you haven't got quite enough on, as the car, as I say, very much clunks into gear, that first ratio from neutral can often be the trigger point to stall the engine.
We're riding with Wurtz now. Jarno Trulli should be ahead of him. Incidentally, the Prosts have gone very well. Olivier Panis is starting in 5th position on the grid with a new evolution of Peugeot engine, which seems to be suiting these conditions very well. As usual, the German spectators are firing off the firecrackers to signify their excitement, and they're no more or less excited than I am, I can tell you. I'm expecting this to be a real humdinger of a European Grand Prix here at the Nürburgring, alongside which is the fabled 14.5-mile Nordschleife, the original Nürburgring, the greatest circuit in the world. Damon Hill looks ahead, and he sees in front of him Giancarlo Fisichella's Benetton, which is going to form up on the right-hand side of the grid. Damon will be on the left. This is Frentzen again rolling into pole position for the 2nd time this afternoon. So when you look at the grid, it will be Frentzen in the yellow Jordan. There he is, pole position. Alongside him is David Coulthard, worrying time for team owner Eddie Jordan as we join again Wurtz. You can see them in the background. You just saw Zanardi coming into position. He's only in 18th position in the Williams. The last two, now let's look at it again. Let's hope those lights go out quickly this time, 3 to 7 seconds after they have all come on.
Yes, they're already 36 seconds on the grid now. It's too long. They've got to get this down to under half a minute.
Come on, go this time. Yes, nice one, Frentzen. David Coulthard has got hit. Mika Häkkinen coming up alongside him. David Coulthard is blocked by Frentzen. Häkkinen moves up into 2nd position. So he's already taken his teammate, David Coulthard, whose job now will be not only to...
Oh, somebody's over.
Bang! That's a Benetton in the background.
Sauber, I think, Murray. Sauber upside down.
Yeah, Sauber upside down. Benetton behind it. And oh dear, the driver should be all right. You can see him moving inside the car. Now, it's probably Jean Alesi at the back of the grid because he was behind his teammate, Pedro Diniz. Now he's strapped into the car. He will be literally hanging from his seatbelt.
Red flag, of course. I can't really see they could cover this under the safety car.
Well, there is Wurtz running in. That was the Benetton. And they turn the Sauber over. The left rear wheel is off, and of course now...
Yeah, they have used the safety car. Surprising for me anyway. I thought they'd red flag this one with so many marshals around, but of course the cars will come through here at a dramatically reduced pace. So waved yellows, there'll be little whiteboards saying SC safety car to tell the drivers to expect to trip over a Mercedes-Benz with a lot of fairground lights on the top any time soon. So they're not going to red flag this again. They're going to just go around slowly. Häkkinen did get a good start up into 2nd place, passing Coulthard, and the rest of them are pretty much in line. Who is it?
The medical team. Around the car. I'm still not positive that it is Jean Alesi.
I don't think it is Alesi. It's Diniz. I believe it's Diniz. Alesi's up in 10th place, so it's Pedro Diniz.
Yeah, he is. He's Wurtz and Damon Hill apparently stopped on that lap. So that's Hill, Wurtz and Diniz. As you watch the safety car coming around, we're on the 2nd lap now, and that was a particularly hard call for Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who got away extremely well. Häkkinen up into 2nd place. David Coulthard down to 3rd. Ralf Schumacher, who started 4th, is still 4th, and the medicos are still attending to Pedro Diniz inside the Sauber.
Yes, well, either the roll bars failed, which I'd be very surprised, or it just dug into the soft ground, I think, and gave the impression that Diniz's head was against the ground. But we did see him moving around inside, trying to get out. Fortunately, both Stewarts away very slow. Now let's see the action. Look, Diniz going around the outside. Oh, look, the two Ferraris got together. Look, two Ferraris got together. Benetton goes across and clips the back of Diniz as he's minding his own business, going around the outside.
Wurtz hit Damon Hill, who was going very, very slowly there, and as a result of that, Diniz goes off and turns upside down. Well, I think they've done exactly the right thing in bringing the safety car out, because the Sauber looked well away from the scene of the action on the tarmac. There it is.
Yeah, that's a nasty accident, actually, because the rollover hoop really did
dig into the soft ground. There's been a lot of rain here, and hopefully there's no neck damage there. And he's going to go across, look, from round, and now he clips. He tries to go round a slowing Damon Hill, and just clips. It's so unusual to see a Formula 1 car fly that easily. And must have just caught it in the wrong place and sent the thing skyward, Murray.
I think, Martin, and obviously I don't know, that the problem was initiated by some problem with Damon Hill. Jordan, because he was going extraordinarily slowly, as a result of which Wurz came up behind him, moved to the right, which may have pushed Diniz offline. I'm hypothesising, I don't know. But meantime, the runners are now on lap 3 out of 66, not 67, with Frentzen, Hakkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, Fisichella in 5th position, and he has got Olivier Panis behind him. And that scene of the accident is turn 8, the left-hander, and it is very close to the action. I was wrong. It's right on the racing, and there's a stretcher being readied on the left of the Sauber.
I think it's surely it's turn 2, isn't it, Mary? It's turn 1 and 2 where it was all going on. I think it's.
I apologise, Martin. Yeah.
There's Pedro. I think a lot of this is precautionary. He's sort of putting his thumbs up. Look, I think a lot of that. They've got the new seat system where they can lift the driver out complete with his seat. They're using that, and I'm hoping and expecting that a lot of that is precautionary. Now look, I think the rollover bar has failed. Look, that's why the car looked. That's so unusual for that to happen.
Very heartening to see Pedro conscious, lifting his thumb up to see. He knew he would be on television, I'm sure. Here it is again. Now you see there's Zanardi in the background. That is Wurz. There is the Sauber completely overturned with Pedro Diniz hanging in the seatbelts from his shoulders and his waist.
This could be a more telling angle, look, Murray. I think we're going to see Diniz pop out. The two Ferraris get together, look. Diniz is trying to go around the outside, and suddenly the Benetton spears across, look, just catches him in the left rear. And of course there's a lot of side energy going. Yeah, the rollover hoop's gone. So if he's not got a damaged neck, then he's a lucky bunny.
Yeah, well, talking about the two Ferraris, Eddie Irvine has moved up a couple of places as a result of that. Not that he would have wanted to have gained them for that reason, but he's now up from 9th on the grid to 7th in the race. We're on lap 4 of the race now, because the race is still on. Behind the safety car, it still counts as some of the gravel which has been pushed onto the tarmac is brushed away. Now the major problem now for them is to get rid of that Sauber, which is just off the racing line, and you see they've got the crane truck there. It won't take very long to get it away. There's the safety car. Here is Frentzen, Hakkinen, Coulthard, and away goes the remains, and sadly it is the remains of the Sauber, which is looking almost as mangled as the Benetton at Monza, which the Tifosi souvenir hunters were after. We're going for a break, but we'll be back hopefully as the race starts. Lap 5 out of 66 at the Nürburgring. Dark clouds overhead, which signifies the feeling on the track after Pedro Diniz is being removed in the ambulance. His broken Sauber. That's Damon Hill, who is very much out of the race, as are Alex Wurz and Pedro Diniz.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing another replay, not because I want to see that crash again. That was particularly scary for any driver, because we rely heavily on that rollover hoop that's part of the monocoque structure of the car, and it saved a lot of our lives over the years, and that one fell apart quite badly, although it did have a lot of energy put into it as from a lateral energy as the car was rolling down the racetrack. But I think Hill probably had some kind of technical problem. It held the two Ferraris up, and then they were all tripping over behind. Wurz had to avoid the two Ferraris, speared right, and just caught the back of Diniz's car. I think that's what's happened. I'm sure we'll get another chance.
That is exactly my reading of it. I believe, I don't know, that whatever Damon Hill's problem with the car was triggered the whole thing by slowing down at a very critical time. Anyway, we'll find out later. It's of academic interest, unfortunately, now, as you see the 19 competitors who are left, and we wait for the lights on the roof of the safety car to go out which indicate that it's going to be pulling off at the conclusion of the lap that it is on, and the lights are flashing at the present moment. I can't see any reason at the present moment why it won't be pulling in very, very soon indeed, because we've seen the marshal sweeping the track. We know that Pedro Diniz has been taken away, and the safety car, I can tell you for sure, is coming in this lap. So we're on lap 6 now. It's a 66-lap race. There's going to be 60 racing laps as opposed to these formation laps behind the safety car.
These 3 lines sum it up on the computer, really, that's on the pit wall. It says restart will be at 14:09. So, of course, that was the problem when the lights didn't go up because somebody had his hand up at the back of the grid. Then it says safety car deployed. And then finally safety car in this lap. That's a pretty that's a lot of action for the first 5 laps of a Grand Prix.
Yes, the race should have been running 23, well, it has been running nearly 23 minutes, but not in proper racing conditions. Soon will be. Now, is Mika Häkkinen going to be able to get past Heinz-Harald Frentzen, or will the German be able to maintain his advantage as they start lap 7 of the European Grand Prix, which is going to be so critical to the 1999 Drivers and Constructors World Championships. They're coming up to turn 8 in this 13-turn circuit now. Now turn 9, and then they drop downhill a bit to the bit curve. That's the right-hander that they're approaching now. Then they climb up to the Vidal chicane from at racing speeds about 180 miles an hour, break down to 60 to this chicane that has caused so many problems in the past.
Crucial start there for Häkkinen, getting ahead of Coulthard into the first corner. Coulthard's, I suspect, not going to be allowed to come back at him, as now Frentzen is the pace car himself. No. He then takes over the end of this lap and controls that speed, and nobody can overtake until they pass the start-finish line. Nobody.
That's it. So Frentzen leads, Häkkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, Fisichella and Olivier Panis, and David Coulthard is having a look as Panis challenges Fisichella behind Schumacher. Now this proves to me, or indicates to me, that there are certainly no team orders in the McLaren team this race, because look at the way David Coulthard was trying to find a way past his teammate Mika Häkkinen. They are both in the running for the World Championship, and of course this has helped Eddie Irvine in a way. You can see the red Ferrari in the background there, 7th position behind the blue Prost of Olivier Panis. Round the Dunlop curve, the hairpin climbing up towards turn 6, underneath the bridge, and then on to the highest part of the course, and it's still Frentzen, Häkkinen, and I think this race is going to be decided on strategy. Mika Häkkinen is going to have a very considerable job to get past Frentzen on performance alone. The German, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, is a mighty experienced Grand Prix driver. He's got a new evolution of the Mugen Honda engine in the Jordan, and it's a very powerful one. And just look at the way Ralph and Eddie Irvine scrambles past Olivier Panis. Irvine and the Ferrari are on their way. He's up into 6th position in the points. Here they come. Frentzen leads, Häkkinen second, right behind him is Coulthard. The yellow helmet is Schumacher. There is Fisichella, up a place is Irvine, down a place is Panis. Villeneuve is there, and Mika Salo is in 9th position. The 10th driver is Jean Alesi.
Yes, Frentzen fastest man on that lap too, with 2/10 quicker than Häkkinen, so track's a little bit green. Häkkinen, I don't think, has yet found the balance of his car. Probably a long way to go, a little bit cautious maybe, but Frentzen appears to have the pace at the moment, and Häkkinen hasn't shown that kind of blistering speed where he's been half, 3/4 of a second faster than anybody else through free practice.
Riding with Ralphie, Ralph Schumacher, Michael's brother, superstar in this year, my man of the year, and he's in 4th position and hanging on magnificently. David Coulthard, meantime, is keeping up the pressure on Mika Häkkinen as we look down at the Jordan, the McLaren, and the Williams in this sun-dappled circuit, which is crammed with Germans and others who are absolutely agog at this race, with every good reason. Now, at the end of the previous lap, Heinz-Harald Frentzen that you're looking at, led by 7/10 of a second, but David Coulthard is the danger man for the two front people at the present moment, because he is certainly not, he's keeping up the, as Häkkinen has a look. Now I can tell you from the Formula 3000 race yesterday, when the two front contenders, Jason Watt and Nick Heidfeld, were absolutely together for the whole race, with Heidfeld trying to find a way round, the passing is terribly difficult. But again, I'm absolutely enthralled at the way that Ralf Schumacher in the vastly improved Williams is hanging on.
Yeah, Häkkinen gathering speed, took 2/10 out of Frentzen that time, and I think spent the first lap or two just getting a feel for his car, getting the tyre pressures up fully. Remember, behind a safety car, they can drop 5 or 6 PSI. Well, Häkkinen had a failure in Hockenheim with a tyre that was deemed to, and this is Irvine's move on the first lap. Remember, on those harder tyres, so it's a brave move from Irvine, and easily nailing Panis into the Vidal chicane. James, what's happening?
Well, I'm down in the McLaren garage, and they were pretty comfortable about Irvine being down in 9th place on the grid, but of course he got himself up to 7th at the start, and now he's in P6. You and I were talking on the grid, Martin. He's on the harder tyres. I'm pretty sure he's filled that thing with fuel. We thought he might be a danger man today if he could get a good start, and strategy-wise, he holds the key to this now. The other teams are looking very carefully at the computers, how much fuel they have in here, when the pit stop windows will be, because he is going to be able to run long, and he can just pick them all off like ducks on a line if he times it right.
Well, just remember what Jackie Stewart said in the studio. The Stewart team are on the hard compound Bridgestones, as is the Ferrari of Eddie Irvine and Mika Salo. And Jackie Stewart said, if the race stays dry, we're in good shape, which means that the Ferraris could be in good shape. Now, the others, the Jordans, the Jordan, the Williams and the two McLarens are on the... And here is Eddie Irvine having a go at Fisichella for 5th position.
Yeah, Irvine's going to pass Fisichella quite quickly, I think, and then cruise up to the leading 4, because there's not a lot in the leading 4. Fastest man on the track last time around was Ralf Schumacher. Half a second quicker than anybody else. You won't get around there, Eddie.
No, he won't. You're absolutely right. But he's certainly trying. Eddie Irvine knows that he may have an advantage, but he must not let the first 4 get away from him. He's 6 seconds behind the race leader at the present moment.
Now, Eddie's got to stay calm here and just keep a good distance behind Fisichella and take good apex speed through this corner now. In fact, it didn't work too well for him, because that's where he's strong. If he can get in the slipstream, we know he took wing off before the start of the race. Look, he's got more straight line speed. Can he have a stab into the braking, up into Vidal? A little bit, he's a long way behind. No, he can't quite make it this time. He's got to be closer coming out of the bit curve.
No, Heidfeld and Watt in the 3000 race went through that chicane side by side yesterday, but Watt held his line. Heidfeld had to back off, and if the man in front just holds his line as Fisichella does, he will get through first.
Well, Fisichella pretty bent out of shape that Ferrari won't take an Italian driver. And remember, Irvine and Fisichella have tripped over each other on several occasions, not least Barcelona.
Yeah, I remember that gigantic shouting match that Fisichella had with Irvine. Irvine didn't shout back. He just very calmly walked off the track and ignored the Italian. But Fisichella will not be looking to move over. Here is the race leader, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Ralf Schumacher in 4th place is only 1.6 seconds behind as Eddie Irvine gets ready for another go at Fisichella.
Irvine's so much stronger on the brakes than Fisichella. He's going to nail him somewhere. I don't know when exactly. It must be within the next 2 or 3 laps, because then otherwise Irvine is now some 8 seconds off the lead.
He's dropping back all the time. You see, he's lost 2 seconds since I talked about it last. Fisichella, obviously, he's not going to yield track position. Eddie Irvine has got to fight his way past, and my goodness, he's trying. Behind him in 7th place is Panis. Villeneuve is in 8th position. Salo in the 2nd Ferrari has improved 3 places.
Now watch Irvine close in the slipstream. It's just ever so gently, but he's still not going to be near enough. He's not quick enough through the one critical corner on the track, and Fisichella, they're taking a bad line through the chicane, having a slow exit. There's not a long enough straight there for Irvine to do anything about it.
Lap 11 in Germany, and here's Mika Häkkinen having a look at Frentzen with David Coulthard behind him in 3rd position, and the magnificent Ralf Schumacher still hanging on as we look at Jean Alesi in the Sauber.
So that'd be Zanardi at the back, Murray. He was last, remember, he went across the grass before the safety car came out, and Zanardi may have stalled the engine, moves forward slightly, in which case
safety car?
It could well be the safety car there. That's a difficult place to get a car out of the way from, although everybody else is around the other side of the circuit at the moment. But looks like Zanardi tripped over the back markers as he tried to make his way back up to his rightful position.
So Mugen Honda powered Jordan leads the Mercedes-Benz powered two McLarens with the Supertech, basically Renault engined Williams of Ralf Schumacher still in there in fourth position. Two Germans, first and fourth.
Now I can see Marshall's out of the window here. I can see Marshall's on the racetrack in the last corner, Murray. So there we can see it now.
Yeah.
Look, what are they going to do with that? They can wave double yellows, but look, it's stuck in gear, and we're going to see the engine now. He's trying to take a pair of them at the time. Look, and
Zonta.
He actually managed to hit both of them.
Yeah, that was Zonta that he was involved with, and Takagi, who so very often gets involved with racing accidents in the arrows, and somehow or other they've got the car clear. Well done.
Well, they've done it under wave yellows, so let's hope they get away with that one. Oh, now there's a truck on the track. Marvellous.
Now, what's this done to Eddie Irvine? The gap has come down a bit. He's 8.5 seconds behind the race leader. Here he is right behind Fisichella in the blue Benetton, who is in fifth position. So, Ferrari, sixth place. Benetton, fifth position. Panis in the blue. Prost is there. Then it's Villeneuve. Then it is Salo. As in walks Zanardi. And this is the 9th non-finish for the Italian driver. And this is the 14th race since he came back to Formula One at the beginning of this year. And Fisichella still staves off Eddie Irvine.
Came down in the lift this morning with Zanardi and said good morning. He said not really, is it? And he's proven to be right for his race anyway.
Yeah, I know. He's had a terrible season. Look at that cloud. Just look at that cloud. We could still get rain absolutely transforming this race. And if it does, this man that we're riding with now, Ralf Schumacher, I predict is going to be in a very strong position because he was absolutely mustard in the wet earlier on Friday.
Hanging on brilliantly, isn't it? I mean, they've got absolutely nothing on him at all.
He is a young superstar, is Ralf Schumacher. This is his 47th Grand Prix, and as I've said before several times this season, he's doing his brother proud. Michael Schumacher, incidentally, is not making the rapid progress he hoped for with his leg.
Irvine's got to run at Fisichella, and Fisichella's got to go down the right-hand side. Can Irvine make it around the outside? No. Fisichella defending his line well. Now he's on racing line on the exit, so obviously had some kind of problem in the last corner. I think it's only a matter of time before Irvine can pass him.
Yeah, but now Eddie Irvine is 8.5 seconds again behind. Look at the way that Olivier Panis is holding on. You're looking at the 5th, 6th and 7th men now as Eddie Irvine once again swarms up to the gearbox of the Benetton.
Now this is interesting. Irvine was the fastest man on the track last lap around, despite having to try to pass that Benetton. So clearly the harder tyres he's on is not holding him up at all, and I think he could get some benefits from that later on.
Yes, just let's recap on this tyre situation. The Ferraris are on the harder compound, as are the Stewarts. Incidentally, Barrichello is in 10th position. Johnny Herbert is in 12th place. While you watch this scrap, very quickly here are the top 10. Heinz, Frentzen, Hakkinen, Coulthard is 3rd. Schumacher is 4th. Fisichella is 5th. Irvine there is in 6th position, ahead of Olivier Panis, Jacques Villeneuve, Mika Salo and Rubens Barrichello. And James Allen's got news for us from the pits.
Yeah, Murray, don't forget the key to these hard tyres, or rather the soft tyres, is that they go off the 2nd to about the 10th lap. So it's really important for Fisichella to keep Irvine behind him. And Irvine knows that Fisichella's tyres are going to start coming back again. These super soft tyres, they come back to life, the performance comes back. But Irvine has got to get past Fisichella now. If he doesn't, he knows he's stuffed.
Yeah, the problem he's got, James, is the one corner where he needs to be faster than Fisichella. He's actually slower. That right-hander before they head downhill into the braking zone of Vidal, he just can't get close enough there to make it stick, because his car's clearly faster.
Well, Fisichella is clearly holding things up in the Supertech-powered Benetton. In the Supertech-powered Williams, Ralf Schumacher, who's 4th, is nearly 8 seconds ahead of this battle that you're looking at now. The gap between the 1st and 4th is still only 1.6 seconds. Jean Alesi down in the field in 14th position is starting to make a challenge on Ricardo Zonta ahead of him. And in the 11th to 15th places as we ride with Schumacher now, and coming up behind David Coulthard's McLaren. I still can't get over this, the way Schumacher in the Williams Supertech is hanging on to these three superstars with their super powerful engines.
I think the McLaren boys have sort of fallen into the pace of Frentzen somewhere. I can't help but thinking Hakkinen could and should be faster. Maybe the dirty air is destabilising his car. When you've got such big wings that they run here, it makes quite a hole. It works the air very hard as the car goes through. And they've tended to all, I mean, the last lap, for example, it was 23.8, 23.8, 23.8, 23.7 for the first four runners in lap time. There's nothing between them. And I think they're all pacing themselves on Frentzen in the lead.
Well, in World Championship terms, and we're on lap 16 out of 66 at the present moment, there's still another 50 to go. Mika Hakkinen is on 6 World Championship points. Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari there is on 1 World Championship point. The more Irvine can move up through the field, provided Hakkinen does not get into the lead, the better it's going to be for the Ferrari driver. His teammate Mika Salo is in 9th position, and that down there is the Prost as Fisichella, Irvine, Tanis go round turn 8 and start to drop downhill, and the speed builds up enormously here to nearly 180 miles an hour. 4 times world champion Alain Prost watching his team's efforts.
Curious race, a lot of inconsistency. Hakkinen closer than he's ever been coming out of the last corner, but fastest man on the track by a country mile last time around was Jean Alesi in 14th place. I don't really know what's going on.
Well, Hakkinen ducking and diving. He clearly thinks, obviously, that if he can get past Heinz-Harald Frentzen, he can get away. But Heinz-Harald is controlling the race absolutely superbly. This is lap 17, and he leads by the distance that you can see visually on the track. Between Frentzen in the Jordan and the 4th car that you can see, Schumacher's Williams, 1.5 seconds. Anything could happen in this race. There's a long, long way still to go. Look at the gap between Schumacher as the battle for 5th and 6th. Fisichella and Irvine goes into the hairpin, and Schumacher comes up behind the others into the chicane. We're with Schumacher now. Coulthard in front, Hakkinen in front of him. Frentzen leads. Look at the clouds overhead, and Eddie Irvine having another look at Fisichella and falling.
And Fisichella running wide. Irvine surely must get him this time.
Yes.
Oh, lucky they didn't touch. So Fisichella clearly having to go so deep on the brakes to keep Irvine at bay, and finally Irvine applies enough pressure to pass the young Italian.
Now he's going to be like a cork out of a bottle. Burst free. Go for it, Eddie Irvine. Pull away from Fisichella and close the gap between yourself and Ralf Schumacher, which is 7 seconds. The gap now between Irvine 5th on 2 points and Schumacher 4th on 3 points, 7.2 seconds. No change at the front. Frentzen, Hakkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, look for Eddie Irvine. Look at the gap between Irvine and Fisichella.
Yes, now that'll very much catch McLaren's attention, and I suspect they need to start communicating with their men, because Irvine is going to just scream up to the back of this foursome you're looking at now.
Yeah, the hypothesis then, Martin, is that Frentzen could go quicker if he wanted to.
I think the two McLarens could go quicker if they wanted to.
Umbrellas up. Here comes the rain. Now, is it going to be a short, sharp shower? They may stay out. Remember how Senna used to stay out on slick tyres and maintain his track position because of his driving brilliance. Replay.
Now here's the move, and obviously Fisichella distracted slightly, brakes very late to keep Irvine at bay, and just puts a half a tyre on the grass, and that gives Irvine the run into the bit curve, and off he goes. But one thing you don't want to be on at the moment is, and that's Ralf Schumacher with a run up the inside of Coulthard. Coulthard's going to have to yield, otherwise he's going to be spun around. Now David's sticking to the outside line. Oh, he's probably got just about enough grunt to get down there. Well done, David. I thought he was going to have to yield there, otherwise he's going to be spun out. But it's getting slippery, and the one thing you're not going to want right now is the harder rubber, because I think the chances of flying off the road are that much easier.
Remember what I said about Schumacher, who is on the softer rubber, and Coulthard is on the harder rubber. Remember what I said about Schumacher. If the rain comes down, the power comparatively comparative power disadvantage he's suffering from will affect him less here than the others.
Yes, and they're some 3 seconds a lap slower on that lap than they have been previously, so that gives you an idea of how much slippery the track is getting.
Indeed, you can see the rain spots there on the lens of the television camera as Mika Häkkinen has got an increased gap between himself and Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
This is, and there's, I think Fisichella having yet another moment down there in turn 4, that will be, turn 3 rather, so just before turning into the Ford curve. You can't believe how difficult this is. This is the most challenging moment for any Grand Prix driver. How much grip is there? Every lap is a whole new adventure. The lap before you were okay, there was enough grip, and suddenly you just snatch a brake or turn in a little bit too late and you're facing the wrong way. And the man with the most confidence is Ralf Schumacher.
Goes through, passes David Coulthard, or does he? David refuses to yield. Schumacher on the inside line. This is what happened on the previous lap, and once again David Coulthard just nudges ahead of the determined German, and they're both having a go at Mika Häkkinen. Oh, this is incredible, and Schumacher's pass.
Ralph's very late into that corner. Well done, he stopped well. I had a feeling he was going to slide straight into the side of Häkkinen. So late on the brakes.
Did you hear the roar from the Mercedes-Benz bashed grandstand there on turns 2 and 3 as their countryman Ralf Schumacher moves ahead of David Coulthard. Now he's going to have a go at Mika Häkkinen, and meantime Häkkinen is 3 seconds behind Frentzen on lap 20.
Well, we're wondering if they're bringing a Ferrari in. I can see the mechanics out in the pit lane. We've seen a Prost go through. It's way too early for wet tyres. Why are the Ferrari men, so many of them, looking so expectant out in the pit lane? The lap times have now dropped into the 27s and 29s. In fact, Frentzen has opened up a 3-second lead, and this is Ralf Schumacher getting a run at Coulthard and then just going desperately late on the brakes, and I was nervous he was going to snatch a wheel and go into the side of Mika Häkkinen, and Mika Häkkinen wouldn't have known what had hit him. He had no idea Schumacher was coming up the inside of him there, and that's the amount of rain there is out on the back of the circuit. So Frentzen going straight across the chicane, look. So maybe that's okay. He didn't make any places. I think that'd have been.
Now this is.
Should he go in the pits? They're bringing Häkkinen in.
Yeah,
Häkkinen in. Should they have brought Frentzen in?
Yes, indeed they should. This could decide the race. Mika Häkkinen has got the call from McLaren, a brilliant call, and Frentzen was just that too. He may have been called in for all I know, and he was too far on past the pit lane entrance to be able to take advantage of it. What's the news, James?
You're absolutely right. Mika a bit hesitant coming into the box there, but it was Ron Dennis's call. The moment he saw Frentzen was going by, he brought Häkkinen in. A brilliant piece of timing. They had the tyres ready. McLaren, fantastic pit work, very fast. Now Ferrari are ready for Eddie Irvine. Going to Mika Salo first. They're going to put wets on Salo. Or is it in fact dries? Another set of dries. What's coming out of the blanket? I'm just looking, it's wets.
They're wets.
He's been a guinea pig for Irvine to see what happens. Ross Brawn is keeping Irvine out, and the rain is in fact stopped now. This is going to be very interesting, boys.
Well, if Heinz-Harald Frentzen can keep going on the tyres that he's got and the rain has stopped, that may work to Häkkinen's disadvantage. Schumacher is now up into 2nd place. David Coulthard there is in 3rd position. Häkkinen has come in. Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari is going strong. And there is Mika Salo. What an enormously long stop. That shot his race. 38-second pit stop for Mika Salo. We didn't see what happened. We were looking at other things. But he's coming out behind Takagi. He's the last runner except for De La Rosa. And Frentzen goes through another lap on the grooved tyres, the nearest thing we have to slicks these days, as Schumacher and Coulthard tippy-toe round the corner.
Yes, they're 1:30s at the moment. That was the cut-off point this morning in the warm-up, where they started going to slicks and went much faster. So this is the pivotal point, and I think there's enough dry track out there to tippy-toe around the dodgy bits and just put up. Now what are they going to put on this? And that looks like another set of slicks to me, James.
It is a set of slicks, absolutely extraordinary. When Salo came in a moment ago, they had both slicks and dries ready for him.
Right rear.
They're not ready on the left rear. There's no tyre. Right rear, I beg your pardon, there's no tyre here.
I've never seen anything like it. There's no time to put on.
Oh, I thought we had one when the race started, he's saying. Well, this is ludicrous. This is
now
blown
they're going to have a committee meeting about it. Stick it on and send him out.
Well, this has blown it for Irvine, blown it for Ferrari. I don't know what's happened, but there was a major misorganisation problem there. Eddie Irvine came in 5th, and he's going out behind Jarno Trulli, who was in 7th position. He's lost a vast amount of time. Meantime, where is Mika Häkkinen? Remember, this is a world championship. He's down in 11th place, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen on the groove tyres, slowing things down, but then Schumacher behind him will be... It's still fairly dry on the right-hand side of the track there. We're on lap 22 now, another 44 laps to go. This is Schumacher going off at the chicane, but provided he does not gain a place as a result of going off, he won't be penalised.
Well, that's the bit I was talking about earlier. If you're going to jump the chicane, jump it properly and do a good job, and otherwise you damage the underneath the car or your front wing. I think Ralph got away with it.
Yeah, I think he did. He's already had a 2nd place this year, don't forget, and it was only 2 weeks ago at Monza. As is the race settling down a bit. Well, there is Mika Häkkinen now in 11th position, and he's well out of the points.
Yeah, and now they're back in the 27s on slick, so Häkkinen's on the wrong tyres. They were a touch too quick on bringing him in. It was a tough call. I wouldn't want to have to make that call, I have to say. But the track is not wet enough for the tyres that Häkkinen's on. It either needs to rain again, or he needs to get in the pits quick.
Yeah, meantime, just imagine the potential mental turmoil of Mika Häkkinen, who's seen himself lose the 2nd position, go down to 11th place for something that he will regard as no fault of his own. Remember what happened at Monza, remember what happened at Imola, and he is in 10th position now as a result of Irvine having that very long stop.
Yeah, well, that's the good thing for Häkkinen. What was the cartoon pit stop of Ferrari? At least Irvine's back in 13th, Häkkinen in 10th, none of them scoring any points. And it's the two outsiders we talked about, Frentzen and Coulthard, that are currently up there in the podium positions.
Salo and De La Rosa are about to be lapped by Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Schumacher there is less than 2 seconds now behind the Jordan, with David Coulthard in 3rd position. Fisichella has moved up into 4th place. Rubens Barrichello has sailed through the field on the hard tyre shod Stewart to 5th position. Jarno Trulli is in 6th position. Takagi exits the pit lane, and here is Rubens Barrichello coming towards us in 5th position. And the fastest man on the track at the present moment is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and it looks to me as though he is very much in control of the conditions as we watch Jacques Villeneuve 9th, taking turn 1. What an incredible turn-up for the book this is. That's Luca Bader. He's in a very unusual 10th position.
Look, Irvine's caught Häkkinen already. Irvine on slicks, of course, Häkkinen on wet. You're on the wrong tyres, Mika, come in.
Past Mika Häkkinen goes Eddie Irvine, yes. And Mika Salo has a look at Heinz-Harald Frentzen as the German laps the Ferrari. So Mika Salo in the Ferrari comes into the pits to change his tyres. What are they going to put on him? Well, Heinz-Harald Frentzen has lapped one Ferrari, and the point is that Mika Häkkinen is dropping down through the field. He's been passed by Marc Genet, for instance, in the Minardi, who is in 11th position. This is a terrible race for Häkkinen, as the Ferrari mechanics this time seemingly have got a full set ready for Mika Salo.
Back onto slicks, of course, and Häkkinen in this lap, we believe. I can see the mechanics coming out in the pit lane, and that's Häkkinen going across the chicane and about to be overtaken by the Minardi. So Häkkinen having to come back in for slicks. A bit odd that he was actually going off on the wet bits, on wets.
Martin, I don't know if you've been in a position analogous to this as we look at a replay of Eddie Irvine passing Häkkinen, but what sort of things must be going through the Finn's mind?
I've been in this situation not with a championship but with Grand Prix that keep changing, the variation in weather, and well, it gives you a nervous affliction you live with for the rest of your life, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't sometimes on some of these decisions. You've got to make a decision and stick with it. but I don't think it was ever quite ready for the wets because it was too dry around the other part of the track. And we know the cut-off point, the crucial moment when you're better off on wets than slicks, was a 1:13. They hadn't reached that point.
First three in the same picture. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the yellow Jordan. In again comes Mika Häkkinen.
Well, I told you before, it was Ron Dennis who made that call. At the time, it seemed a bit inspired. Now he looks a little bit crestfallen. He's got his back to this pit stop. This is lap 25. You can't put enough fuel into the car at this point to get you to the finish, so he's going to have to come in again. But guys, bear this in mind. If Häkkinen and Irvine, who both have problems here, don't get any points, Frentzen goes on and wins this race, they'll all be level on 60 at the end of the race.
Well, you're right, James, but we've got a long way to go. This is lap 26. There's still 40 laps to go as we look at Mika Häkkinen pursued by Giancarlo Fisichella. Häkkinen is in 13th position and Fisichella is 4th. So there's a full lap between them. Amazing.
Yes, I mean, theoretically, no. Actually, if Fisichella moves up to the back of Häkkinen, Häkkinen's going to get the blue flags and he has to let him through. He's being lapped.
Yep, and here are the racers for the lead, absolutely together, with Ralf Schumacher putting enormous pressure in front of the Williams Supertech on the Jordan, and we're with Ralf Schumacher now. Lovely in-car pictures, and that is the race leader in front of us as he turns in for the chicane. Frentzen, Schumacher, David Coulthard just behind them. 1.7 seconds covers the first three.
Well, Ralph's got supreme confidence. We've seen that already, and we know how late he can be on the brakes in that Williams from when he passed Coulthard. So Ralph now certainly becoming a menace to Frentzen. Just 0.3 of a second behind as he went over the line. You can see for yourself, and took 0.2 out of him just on the last lap. So Ralph now with the quicker package.
Ralf Schumacher 5th in the World Championship, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen 3rd behind Irvine and Häkkinen, tying on 60 points at the top. But at the present moment, Frentzen is the gainer. 10 World Championship points are potentially in his pocket. Mika Häkkinen has got no World Championships at the points in this race at the present moment, or as the sign of them. He's in 14th position, and David Coulthard, his teammate, who started 12 points behind him in this race, is on 4 World Championship points for 3rd position if he stays where he is. But look how close he is to Ralf Schumacher. Jordan leads, Williams 2nd, McLaren 3rd, Fisichella is 4th, Barrichello is 5th, Trulli is 6th, Alesi is 7th, Johnny Herbert in the 2nd Stewart is up to 8th position, better than he's been for a long time. Villeneuve in the BAR is 9th, but he's 10th.
Well, we saw the Williams mechanics in the pit lane, and Ralph is taking to the pit lane, so this will be the first of his scheduled two-stop race, I would imagine. But down the pit lane, now they've taken the chicane out. He can go straight down and look for the speed line. Over he goes. Make sure you don't undershoot too much on your speed, and look for your box of mechanics. There they are now, wheels locking slightly, but calmly in. And just sit there with a little bit of throttle on, keep the steering wheel straight, wheels going on nicely, fuel still going in, lollipop up, Ralph calmly and maturely off down the pit lane. Nice stop.
Perfect timing for a two-stop strategy. I said they'd come in round about lap 24. He's come in on lap 26, and he rejoins behind Jarno Trulli, who was in 6th position. So there is Zonta, and here coming towards us is the BAR, followed by the Prost, and already Ralf Schumacher really has got the hammer down. Frentzen leads on lap 28. David Coulthard is closing up now on Frentzen because he has got rid of, or rather Ralf Schumacher has got rid of himself. But Frentzen is leading on lap 28. There's the 2nd place man behind him. Ralf Schumacher and Fisichella are battling for the position behind.
Well, these two have both got a pit stop coming up, but I believe in the next few laps, and Coulthard knows that Schumacher's gone in. If he's out there charging some spectacular laps in, he's going to appear in front of these two. Coulthard knows this is a pivotal point of the race. This next 5 laps, I believe, is where these pair have got to turn in some spectacular laps.
And the 2 World Championship leaders, Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari is 12th, and Mika Häkkinen is 14th. Between them there is some 37 seconds to Irvine's advantage, but Irvine's got to make a lot of progress to get into the points. David Coulthard has just made the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 22.2, which is about 1.8 seconds slower than Mika Häkkinen's fastest lap last year, in much better conditions, of course. Race leader, Heinz-Harald Frentzen from Mönchengladbach in Germany, not so very far from the Nürburgring, as we look at the Prost of Olivier Panis, who has come into the pits from 16th position. Jarno Trulli, his teammate, is up in 6th position.
I would imagine that some of these cars have got quite a high fuel load. I'm surprised Ralph came in so early, actually. With inclement conditions, often you run more fuel than you would expect to give yourself a bigger window in case it does rain. There's no point in coming in for a pit stop and then 2 laps later for new tyres or wet tyres, and then 2 laps later having to come in for fuel, or the other way around. So it doesn't surprise me these are running longer, but I'm still expecting them fundamentally to 2-stop unless they've got enough fuel in at the beginning of the race to change their strategy.
Well, when something unusual happens in a Grand Prix, you talk about it. Luca Badoer in the Minardi is in 10th position, and he richly deserves to be there because the Minardi team tries so hard against adversity, particularly in the form of very little money compared with the major teams, 2 of which are Jordan and McLaren, and there is Fisichella
lapping Häkkinen.
Lapping Mika Häkkinen, thanks for that. And Fisichella is going like a train in 3rd position. And what a discouraging situation for Mika Häkkinen. 2 pit stops already, 1 for the wrong tyres and the second for the right tyres.
Now, this I can't understand. Look, Häkkinen now on the same tyres as the leaders, lapping 2 to 3 seconds a lap slower. Has he given up already?
Well,
he shouldn't have.
No, maybe, of course he shouldn't. But we know the discouragement factor. We know the pressure. That piece that James Allen did was superb before the race began to show us the pressures these drivers are under. And Mika Häkkinen, Frentzen loses it.
And that is gaining an advantage, because otherwise he would normally have lost that place, and certainly Coulthard's going to get a good run at him, although the McLaren doesn't appear to have as good a traction as the Jordan and especially the Williams coming out of that last corner. And well, I have to say, I think Frentzen clearly maintained his position by charging, but that's what I was saying about that chicane. You've got to jump it properly.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what the stewards make of this, Martin, because if they think that he benefited from that, they could give him a penalty. So we'll have to keep a very cautious eye open for that. I don't think he did, to be quite honest, but anyway, that's for them to decide and not for me. We're on lap 31. We're already nearly halfway through the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, with Frentzen and Coulthard there fighting for the lead, 17 seconds ahead of Fisichella in the Benetton. And that's good news for the Benetton team. They've had some very, very tough times recently with the car that they've been trying to develop to get grip. That's been their problem. Well, he certainly seems to have it in this race, but he has yet to stop, whereas Ralf Schumacher is 23 seconds behind Frentzen and has made his stop. So when Frentzen and Coulthard come in, Schumacher could potentially take the lead. Barrichello is 5th, Herbert is in 6th position, followed by Villeneuve 7th, Trulli is 8th, Badoer is 9th, Aleti is 10th, Eddie Irvine is down in 12th position, and Mika Häkkinen is 14th, both well out of the points. The gaps at the front of the World Championship are closing right up as Coulthard closes on
Well, they're moving into one-stop territory now. Obviously, we know it's effectively a 66-lap race after the first aborted start, and here we are, almost half distance. So clearly, the McLaren and this is Fisichella putting the move on Häkkinen, but only to lap him. Häkkinen still down in 14th place, still even since then 2 odd seconds per lap slower. He's just cruising around. He's given up on any points today.
Yeah, and we know that the key words in Formula One, there's 3 of them, are never give up. Fight, fight, fight every inch of the way, because you never know what's going to happen. So Mika Häkkinen, if he has given up, most certainly should not have done so.
It's the key words in life, isn't it? And Formula One's absolutely no different to that. But
where that's a McLaren we can see. Who is that? And if
Well, it's
so,
our old friend Takagi again, I think.
McLaren in front. If so, where's the yellow Jordan? But it's Hakkinen, so it's not Coulthard. And they're just homing in on
taking
Hakkinen.
De La Rosa, actually, to be fair to Takagi. De La Rosa, who is in 13th position, just been passed by Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah, so can Hakkinen pick up the pace? Can he do anything with that? And McLaren ready in the garage now.
Frentzen and Coulthard coming in. Here they are. These are the two leaders, the race leader and the second place man. It's going to depend on the pit crews, who gets out first. And remember, they are not allowed to pass in the pit lane. Yes, out goes Frentzen. Where is Coulthard? Right behind him, and the mechanics scatter.
And more importantly, where's Ralph? Ralph not in view yet. Ralph coming over the start-finish line now. He will not get ahead of them, and nor will Hakkinen. Hakkinen's a lap down. There's De La Rosa, also a lap down, and there's Ralph. He maintained third place, did not put the hot laps in he needed to during that period when he was at, and that's Frentzen.
Frentzen and Fisichella has exited the pit lane. Frentzen stops. He's lost the prop on turn 3. That's his race run, and Eddie Jordan is gutted. Both his cars out of the race, and that is the end of Heinz-Harald Frentzen's chance of winning and getting 10 World Championship points, which means to say that David Coulthard now is on 10 World Championship points. Remember, he is in 4th position in the championship at the moment. He's currently equal on points with Frentzen.
Well, Coulthard's the only championship contender currently in a point-scoring position at all.
Yeah, if Coulthard wins this race and neither Hakkinen nor Irvine get World Championship points.
Here we go. Look, this is Frentzen, just a mechanical problem. Look, comes out of the pits. Maybe it's some kind of drivetrain problem, but you know the pits are quite greasy. Normally, you don't put too much energy in coming out of there on a day like today. But clearly something gone wrong in the transmission. Coulthard easily taking the lead, and Schumacher now 6 or 7 seconds behind as they pull him out of the way. They covered that under a waved yellow flag. They did not bring the safety car out, so we're not going to have an interruption to the race. You can see the Jordan now well out of danger.
Well, the amazing thing is that if Irvine and Hakkinen do not get into the points, we're going to go to Malaysia, the next Grand Prix, with Irvine and Hakkinen on 60 points and Coulthard on 58. We're going for a break. Lap 36 now. Let's take a deep breath and think about this race. David Coulthard now leads it, with Ralf Schumacher in the second position as a result of the retirement of Frentzen.
But look, you can see it's raining cats and dogs again. There's Salo going off. That's a replay. And it's raining much heavier than it did before, but still only on certain parts of the racetrack. We see the spray on the TV. I look out of the window and the track is bone dry. So what's the right decision now? Do you come in for wet? But for sure, the track is now wetter than it was before. And look, a lot of crews out with some tyres ready.
And Johnny Herbert has just come into the pits there. He's hidden by the mechanics, but he came in from 5th position. And David Coulthard there is leading on lap 36 out of 66. Ralf Schumacher is 7 seconds behind him. Rubens Barrichello is in 3rd place in the Stewart. Fisichella is 4th. Johnny Herbert has just come in to have new tyres on as Jarno Trulli, I think it was, exits the pit lane. It is not chaos here, but it's certainly very, very difficult to follow as the rain comes down on some parts of the circuit, whereas the rest stays dry, and that will be Schumacher's pit crew waiting to bring him in as David Coulthard
carries on. Coulthard carries on. It must be Ralph they're waiting for. Zanardi's out of the race, but doesn't mean to say Ralph will come in. He may take his own decision out there, saying, no, I can cope with it, I can cope with it. But there's a Sauber, which must be a Lacey, pulling out of the race. We've already seen Denitz upside down and out on the first corner. So Lacey out of the race, and look at the rain coming down. How's Coulthard keeping it on the road?
I do not know, but as I said before, remember the way Senna used to be able to keep his car on the road on slick tyres in wet conditions. And David Coulthard has got a 9-second lead over Ralf Schumacher now. He's actually increased it by nearly 50% on that lap. Here are the top 10. Coulthard leads. You see him now. Schumacher is 9 seconds behind him. Barrichello is 16 seconds behind Schumacher and 2 seconds ahead of Fisichella, 4th. In 5th position is Johnny Herbert as the arrows of De La Rosa spins off. Jarno Trulli was in 6th position but has come in. It's Takagi, not De La Rosa. And in 7th position is Badeur. But it's going to be changing all the time. This is Marc Genet leading on the track, but not in the race, of course. David Coulthard, who's on lap 37, having made one of, we think, possibly 2 stops.
Well, it would definitely be faster. Oh, steady on, David, you're pushing too hard. It would definitely be faster on wets right now. They're back in the 1:37s, and then this morning on wets they were doing 32s. But of course, if it's a window, a small window again of 2 or 3 laps, Coulthard says, I can handle this, I'm staying out. Because there's blue sky above us now. So
and here is a news flash from the Nürburgring. Eddie Irvine is just 1 place off being in the points, and Mika Häkkinen is well out of them. Mika Häkkinen in 12th position. Eddie Irvine is 1.6 seconds behind Jacques Villeneuve, who is 6th and the last potential point scorer at the present moment. So this World Championship position is absolutely riveting, with Heinz-Harald Frentzen 3rd in the championship out of the race. That is Ralf Schumacher that you're looking at now, and David Coulthard is easing away from him as Ricardo Zonta leaves gravel all over the track.
Oh and no, Coulthard off the road.
David Coulthard has gone off. Wow, my God, this is unbelievable. Schumacher leads. Fisichella is 2nd. Barrichello is 3rd. Johnny Herbert is 4th, and Villeneuve is in 5th position, and Eddie Irvine is in the points. Remember, I said, watch Ralf Schumacher. Well, Ralphie is making my forecast come true as off the circuit plunges Coulthard.
Turn 4, he just snatched the brake on the way in, ran wide and just couldn't prevent a look. He stalled the engine, and he's only going to nudge the tyres. If the engine was running, he might be able to reverse out of there, but the engine is already gone, and that is David Coulthard's World Championship chance gone in a heartbeat with 1 error. Well, the others are staying out there on slicks. He obviously felt he was comfortable out there on slicks. He was pulling away at about a second a lap. That's the way it goes.
Well, I wonder if Mika Häkkinen can get into the points now. He's up into 10th position, I think, as a result of Coulthard's departure. As we watch Fisichella, now he's 19 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher. Fisichella in 2nd position now because Schumacher is leading the race. David Coulthard is out of it. Barrichello is 3rd, and the other steward of Johnny Herbert is in 4th position. It's not inconceivable that we are going to see a steward win a Grand Prix before it becomes a Jaguar in the year 2000, and wouldn't that for Britain be absolutely marvellous? Mika Häkkinen now, he's ahead of Fisichella. That's Fisichella in the background, who is almost a full lap ahead of the McLaren, because Häkkinen is in 11th place and Fisichella is in 2nd place. Giancarlo Fisichella, who's already had 1 2nd place this year in the Canadian Grand Prix, 8th in the World Championship. Race order, lap 39. Schumacher leads Fisichella by 19 seconds. That's Johnny Herbert 3rd. 40 seconds behind Schumacher.
Johnny on wets, I think that's why he came over to the pit wall on the pit straight to try and cool those tyres as much as he could. So Johnny making good use of his wets and some 5 seconds a lap faster than the current leaders. Johnny moving in at 5 seconds a lap from 3rd place. Louise.
Yeah, bit of news, a bit of update on Pedro Diniz. At the moment he's in the medical centre having a full check over. But the latest word from Joseph Libra, who's the team physio, is that Pedro is all okay. There are no obvious injuries to him, so that's good news.
Thank you very much for that, Louise. We haven't been saying anything because we didn't know, but it's heartening news indeed. Pedro Diniz seemingly okay as race leader. Ralf Schumacher. And remember that last year his brother Michael had a titanic scrap with Mika Häkkinen who won the race, and currently in the year 1999 is down in 11th position. We're on lap 40 now, 26 laps to go, and Schumacher leads Fisichella by 19 seconds, and Schumacher lapping significantly quicker than the Benetton, who is pulling away from Mika Hakkinen in the background, who has been lapped. Third is Herbert, and he is catching Fisichella, as Martin has already pointed out. He was much faster than the Benetton on the previous lap. We're looking at Johnny Herbert now, and the gap between himself and Fisichella was 21 seconds, and it's about the same now, with Barrichello fourth, Trulli fifth in the Prost, Jacques Villeneuve in the points. Are we going to see a VAR score its first World Championship point here at the Nürburgring?
I don't ever remember saying this as a driver, but a sprinkling of rain does make for a cracking Grand Prix, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's my belief that we should have a sprinkler system which is switched on by computer according to some pre-planned basis, and I'm only joking. But you're right, Martin, it really does make a fantastic difference. We saw it in qualifying yesterday when Heinz-Harald Frentzen sensationally took pole position just literally a few seconds from the end of the session. Here is Jacques Villeneuve, the world champion of 1997, and the man who has already won this Grand Prix at the Nürburgring twice, in 96 and in 97. He says it's my lucky circuit. Well, it's certainly lucky for him today. And there in the background is Eddie Irvine, trying to get up into the points. The gap between Irvine, who is 7th, and Villeneuve, who's got that last World Championship point at the moment, is just under 5 seconds, but Villeneuve is lapping quicker than the Ferrari.
Yeah, but for that comical pit stop, Irvine would be, I believe, certainly second in this race behind this man Ralf Schumacher, and if he's still on slicks, then he's a hero, and he certainly is on slicks, and I don't know how he's keeping it pointing in the right direction.
And if he is on speaking terms with the Ferrari crew at the end of this race, I will be very surprised. They let him down very, very badly at that pit stop.
Maybe that's where the pit stop goes wrong. Surely they've got radios. They're sort of holding a board out. They're not short-sighted at Ferrari. They hold a board out to say who's coming in next. I assume that's what it's for. No wonder they haven't got the right tyres ready. People probably are not looking at the board.
That's Ralf Schumacher, the race leader, looking very secure at the present moment. 17 seconds ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella. And on your toes, boys, the Ferrari mechanics, with hopefully 4 tyres and wheels in the pit lane. And who are they bringing in? We've seen Mika Salo go off the circuit and only just managed to regain it. He's been lapped, and in comes Irvine from 7th place, 4.5 seconds behind Villeneuve.
Wet's going back on, so this is obviously a scheduled stop. So, well, no, of course, Irv would be on slicks, wouldn't he, coming in the pits now? So they've decided it's too wet, just as it's brightening up, actually, ironically, outside the window here. They're going to take the slicks off and put the wets on in the hope that they can keep Eddie on the road and gain points by other people falling off.
Well, if you can remember this, Eddie Irvine previously was lapping in 1 minute 48 seconds. Now that he is on wet tyres, we'll be able to see whether they are a benefit or not. Meantime, we're on lap 42. Schumacher leads, Fisichella second. Just look at this incredible list of retirements. Denise out as a result of that nasty crash at the beginning, which involved Alexander Wurz, and Damon Hill have also retired. Zanardi out, Frentzen out, heartbrokenly as a result of presumably a problem with the Jordan. Alesi is out, David Coulthard, the race leader, is out. There are 15 cars left in the race out of the 22 who started. We're on lap 42, and Ralf Schumacher, of course, has made 1 stop.
It looks a lot brighter, doesn't it, all of a sudden? Look at the sun ricocheting off the trees in the background and lighting up the spray, the plume of spray coming up behind Ralf Schumacher's Williams. Suddenly it's brightening up, and I think the Ferrari could be on the wrong tyres again, unfortunately.
Yeah, which again underlines the Senna philosophy of stay out if you can. And that's, I can't see whether that's Herbert or Barrichello involved as he dives through. Well,
it was Herbert lapping.
Yeah, Mika Häkkinen has really gone to pieces for whatever reason in this race.
Well, Herbert's on wets, Häkkinen's still on slicks.
And that is Ricardo Zonta, who's just passed the McLaren. Everything has gone wrong in this race for Mika Häkkinen. And this is Giancarlo Fisichella on a replay. What's happened to him? Who's second in the race? Has he gone off? Yes! Now, does he regain the circuit? He was 15 seconds ahead of Johnny Herbert, who may well have gone up to second position as a result of this off-course excursion by Giancarlo Fisichella, who's losing time. Now, does he hit the barrier? Mega wheel spin, of course. That grass and mud is offering no grip at all. But with just a feather touch on the throttle, he keeps it going.
Yeah, that's a good recovery from Fisichella. Herbert stage third, but now just 3.4 seconds behind as we watch Ralph fighting the back of the car coming out of the Vidal chicane. And as you can clearly see, just a groove slicked between him and the racetrack.
I'm trying desperately to remember when a Williams last won a Grand Prix as I give you the top 6 in this race on lap 43. Ralf Schumacher that you're looking at in a Williams with a Supertech engine, and if he wins this race it'll be the first victory for a Supertech engine. And Fisichella is second, but only a whisker in front of Johnny Herbert, who is fighting for that second position. Jarno Trulli is fourth, Rubens Barrichello is fifth, both the stewards in the top 5. Villeneuve is sixth, and we're going for a break. Sensation at the Nürburgring, because here into the pit lane comes Ralf Schumacher in the lead to take his second pit stop. Now catching him now very fast are Giancarlo Fisichella and Johnny Herbert, who are right behind him. And if Schumacher, now can he get out of the pit lane before Fisichella does? Comes through. There is Schumacher on the left. There's Fisichella and Herbert. Fisichella leads, Herbert second, and Schumacher is now down into third position, but he's made 2 stops.
And yes, you can see it there still. Johnny on the wet tyres going over to try and cool those wets. Fisichella on slicks. Does he have to stop again? And Ralph putting slicks on during that pit stop. For sure, Johnny Herbert will have to come in at some point, unless it rains again, of course, and change off those wet tyres. It's moving into slick territory. Has the arrows, that'll just touch the wall, I think. It does, no major drama there. I thought those ropes were guy ropes supposed to keep the wheels on these days, but that one didn't do its job. The wheel's going to have a little run of its own down the racetrack anytime soon. I hope that's not going to cross the racing line, but I suspect it do a little bit of right and get out of the way, please. I think it's going to be all right.
Well, there goes David Coulthard, or Häkkinen goes past the wheel. He's perfectly all right. As Tora Takagi retires from the European Grand Prix. That is his 6th retirement of the year. Here's the replay. Let's see what happens. He loses it all by himself. Goes across the grass where your car accelerates, of course. And Louise Jordan is with Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen, what can you tell us? Suddenly slowing to a halt, what was the problem?
Well, I don't know what exactly happened. It's just that when I went out of the pit, I had a full ignition cut, and I need to find out exactly what was the cause for that problem.
A similar thing happened to your teammate, Damon Hill, of course. Do you think the two could be related?
Probably. We have to check that first.
What's your reaction to that? It must be hugely disappointing for you.
It's always disappointing, especially when you drop off the race and when you are leading. And what can I say? It's a disappointing moment, but that's life. I mean, this is motor racing. Everything can happen. If you look around, so many things can happen. And luckily, Pierre Denis wasn't hurt too much. I heard he's all right. So at the end, everything counts when everybody is all right.
Well, as Heinz-Harald said, anything can happen, and it certainly is in this race. Back to you, Murray.
And this is Ralph. You're on board with Ralf Schumacher closing in on the back of second place. Johnny Herbert. Herbert on wets. Ralph has had good grip out of there all afternoon, and Johnny pretty much leaving the way open. But now he's doing the Coulthard and having a charge back around the outside. Ralph's had a Brit round the outside of him, virtually half the times he's been through that corner, but we know how late Ralph can break down into here. The track's wetter than the last time you did this, Ralph, and he knows it too. A lot of maturity that's going on this afternoon from Ralf Schumacher. He's going to bide his time. He's got 20 laps left yet, but Fisichella is some 8 seconds down there in the lead, and that looks like they're going to take Salo out of the race. There's not one of the World Championship contenders currently in a point-scoring position, and the nearest is Irvine in 7th place.
But he's only 4 seconds behind Luca Badoa, who is in 6th position. Eddie Irvine, in my opinion, is going to move up into a minimum 6th position, which would give him the lead again in the World Championship if he stayed there at minimum. Quite incredible race this is. Lap 47 out of 66, and you're watching now Giancarlo Fisichella, who is the race leader, and looking for Johnny Herbert, who had that struggle, that tussle with him, because Herbert is in 2nd place, and then Ralf Schumacher is in 3rd position.
Fisichella's led races before, of course, with Jordan, didn't he? Hockenheim, I think it was, 97, and possibly Buenos Aires, I think, back in the same year, 97. So this is not completely new territory for Fisichella. Certainly haven't seen a Benetton at the front for a long time.
Gigantic turnaround for Benetton this race, and they, like any team that works as hard as they have been doing, deserve all the success they can get, because Pat Simmons and his people at Whitney, at Enstone...
Johnny, sorry, but Johnny, something must have happened. Johnny must have been in the pits. Yeah, there he is. So presumably now they'll put slicks on. Yes, slicks going on. Johnny now fueled up and tired up, hopefully to the end of the race, if there's not another sprinkling of rain, which appears to come from absolutely nowhere. You look at the sky, the next thing is raining, and you thought it was blue and clearing up. So Herbert maintains his 3rd place, ahead of Jarno Trulli, who's coming into vision at the back of your screen now. So Johnny still in that podium position. That releases Ralph, who's exactly 10.0 seconds behind leader Fisichella.
And if you're confused, here are the top positions in the European Grand Prix. On lap 48 out of 66 in an amazing race, Giancarlo Fisichella is leading Ralf Schumacher by 10 seconds. Johnny Herbert has come into the pits, but I think is still in 3rd position, ahead of Jarno Trulli, with Rubens Barrichello 5th and Luca Badoa 6th, just ahead of Eddie Irvine. Now, it could be that we're going to see a Minardi getting a World Championship point for the first time since Pierluigi Martini a long, long time ago, and they would richly deserve it. But, as I say, there's some 18 laps to go, as here is Eddie Irvine, and he has been caught by the race leader, Giancarlo Fisichella. So Irvine's 7th is going to be lapped. Is he by Fisichella? Yes.
Yes, he is. He's got to let him through, and he's not doing that too easily, is he? But lets him through now. So Fisichella stopped on lap 32. We didn't cover it on the TV. It wasn't caught by the German TV here. So we don't really know how much fuel Fisichella's got on board and if he can run to the end. But he's certainly got some good speed, hasn't he? As he runs extremely wide into the Dunlop hairpin, but he should be able to recover around the outside and live for another day. No problems at all. I can't give you a good read as to whether Fisichella has to come in again or not.
Well, I reckon he must have to, in which case, as we watch this replay of the Benetton and the Ferrari fighting it out, and there he is, Fisichella!
He stalled it too.
He's out of the race! He's out of the race! Schumacher leads! Giancarlo Fisichella retires the Benetton. We don't know what happened to him.
I think you find he's gone off somewhere. So, well, he's obviously gone off somewhere, but I think you find he's gone off by himself. It doesn't look like a technical problem. He's too far away. He's got to, maybe gets on the throttle too early or whatever. Yeah, look, we saw him go over there earlier on, didn't we? It's the 2nd time he's been across there, except he's got much more of an acute angle. In fact, now he's completely sideways. He's going to go off the road backwards, and I think the engine has already stalled. We will now never know whether that car needed to come in for fuel or not.
And Eddie Irvine is in the points because he has moved up a place as the disheartened and understandably so Giancarlo Fisichella leans his head against his arm on seeing a race victory again disappear. He lost one. That is Rocco Benetton, the top man of the Benetton team, and he is obviously as distressed as Fisichella is. But meantime, here's the man. Here is Ralf Schumacher, with Jarno Trulli now in second position. Johnny Herbert is second, I'm sorry, and off goes Schumacher. I can't keep up with this
from there, but I'm a bit concerned as to why the left front is up in the air. He's got a puncture. I think he's got a puncture, right rear puncture. The left front was up in the air.
Right rear?
Yeah, he's got a right rear puncture. It's clear to see now. And so Ralf has got, I don't know which corner it was, how far he's got to get back to the pits. It looks quite a long way from home.
Johnny Herbert leads the European Grand Prix. Are we going to see a Stewart victory in its third and last year of Grand Prix racing before it becomes a Jaguar? It would be magnificent if we did. Remember, Johnny...
Is that Johnny taking the lead now, look? I think
yes!
Johnny takes the lead of the Grand Prix.
Johnny Herbert leads at the Nürburgring. Remember, he's already won 2 Grand Prix. He's won the British Grand Prix for Benetton, and that is ironic. He's won the Italian Grand Prix for Benetton, and he's on lap 50 with 16 laps to go, and Jarno Trulli is 14 seconds behind him.
Well, at the moment, that tyre appears to be at least staying intact. If that flails, if it breaks, you can see pieces flying off it. For sure, it will damage the side pod and the rear wing of that car as Irvine makes his third stop of the afternoon. Ralf must come back quite slowly so that tyre doesn't disintegrate. He's probably got another mile to do. He's going to be lucky. Look, he's gone. It went on the way into the corner, and I noticed as he's going across the gravel track. Look, the left front seems to be riding a little bit high, and then as he appears out the other side, we can clearly see a right rear puncture. So nothing Ralf can do about that. There's been a lot of accidents on the circuit, lots of debris, carbon fibre slices that can easily give you a puncture, and the tyres not flailing too badly. He may just get away with that.
And meantime, of course, Eddie Irvine is now out of the points again as a result of yet another stop. That was his third stop, Eddie Irvine, and Johnny Herbert is on lap 51 out of 66. James?
Well, Murray, we said this was a World Championship of mistakes and unlikely heroes, and what a strange day. The right rear comes off Ralf Schumacher's car. It's completely mashed. It's covered up by a Bridgestone technician. A scrub set of tyres going on. The Williams people deeply disappointed. And one quick line for you on Fisichella. He did have to stop again. It was going to be marginal, but they thought towards the end he may have to do a splash and dash.
So where is Ralf Schumacher now is the question.
He's probably 5th, isn't he? That's Villeneuve, who was 6th. So maybe he's coming out between Padua and Villeneuve, so he's still in the points. And ironically, that's still keeping Eddie Irvine out of the points. I thought that may elevate Irvine, but Ralf is on a mission now. He wants to be careful he doesn't throw it in the hedge big time. But
let's take stock. Let's take stock. Herbert's leading, lap 51. 16 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli in the Prost. Barrichello in the second. Stewart is third. So both Stewarts are in the top 3. Magnificent. Schumacher, we think, is 4th. Bader, believe it or not, and well-deserved, is 5th. Jacques Villeneuve is 6th. Genet in the Minardi is 7th. Eddie Irvine is in 8th position. There is a lot of drama yet to come at the Nürburgring, and we've got 15 laps for it to be revealed. As we watch now the Stewart ahead of Mika Häkkinen, both of them looking for the dry part of the track and finding it. And it's race leader Johnny Herbert fighting against Mika Häkkinen, who is 9th and a lap behind him.
Former teammates at Lotus. Oh, Johnny getting well out of shape through 8 and 9 now, 6 and 7, whatever is the fast chicane, but Johnny running wide in the hairpin before that and losing some tyre temperature. Remember, of course, that the 2 Stewarts are on the harder tyre, and it's going to be slipperier than ever for those drivers on the damp areas.
Remember when Jackie Stewart burst into tears at Monaco when Rubens Barrichello finished 2nd in their first year of Grand Prix racing, and that was the year before last. He's going to be overcome with emotion if they win this race, and here is Schumacher.
Yeah, look,
what's happened?
His tyre's already going down, look, and going inboard. So Schumi turns into the right-hander, but no grip, and it unloads the front left as well. So nothing he could do about that. He did well to hold it. In fact, he did very, very well to hold it. If ever a man deserved to win this race,
yes,
I think you're looking at him right now. But Oh, now he's going to run off the road. He's really pushing as hard as he can. He did come out in 5th place. He's some 14 seconds behind Luca Badoa in 4th place in the Minardi.
Yes,
that just about sums up what a strange race we're watching.
Yes, and Luca Badoa, of course, who has driven for the Dallara team and Minardi and Forti. He's the Ferrari tester, actually, now.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Mario. I think Johnny's just done a very sensible thing. Obviously, he was busy watching Hakkinen in his mirrors. He's now let him through, let Hakkinen unlap himself, and so that because he was making mistakes with Hakkinen so close behind him. And there's Hakkinen coming along. Louise is with Coulthard.
Yes, I am indeed, David. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Should you have come in for wet tyres earlier on?
No, I think it was the right decision to stay on the groove tyres. Problem was that the circuit was changing. It was raining in certain parts, and I don't believe I took what was a much quicker line into the corner when I went off, but it just seemed to be less grip. I locked up the wheel. Normally in itself would just mean you'd run in the gravel, but when I was in the gravel, it didn't seem to want to turn, and it felt like I was still being driven by the rear wheel, so I couldn't turn the car, and very disappointed and angry at myself for making this mistake, because, you know, leading a Grand Prix, you got 10 seconds in hand. It's a silly thing to do, so I'm sorry for that.
As it stands at the moment, it's a low-scoring race for all the championship contenders, your teammate Mika included. Is that good news for you or bad news for you?
You know, at the moment, all I can think about is a thrown opportunity to get 10 points, and who knows what's going to happen with who's going to finish, who's going to win this race, and what the points are going to be. But clearly, it was a key race, one that was coming to me, and I'm a bit disappointed not to have taken the 10 points.
And sadly, not for the first time.
Yeah, I think David knows that was his World Championship chance pretty much out of the window. 20 points to play for. He's 12 behind. Maybe more if Irvine can get in the points this afternoon, which he's struggling to do, having had 3 pit stops. But I think when David Coulthard looks back on 1999 with quite a lot of pain, despite his couple of wins, he will think about that grassy moment, I believe. But nonetheless, no such problem for Johnny Herbert, up there in the lead by 17.7 seconds over Jarno Trulli.
And so, as we watch the 2 Prost, let's go for a break before the closing stages of the European Grand Prix. Rate of about 6/10, no, more than that, 1.6 seconds a lap. Rubens Barrichello is going to be challenging for 2nd. Are we going to see Stewart's finishing 1st and 2nd? Well, Ralf Schumacher is 4th. He is catching Barrichello. Villeneuve is in the points in the BAR. Marc Genet, the Spanish driver, is in 6th position in the Minardi on a potential world point, being caught by Eddie Irvine just out of the points, who is being caught by Mika Hakkinen in 8th position. Zonta is 9th, Panis is 10th, but Durr is out of the race. 10 of the 22 starters are still running.
Yeah, look at this. Look, Hakkinen suddenly realised after cruising for most of the race, he can catch Irvine. He's 2.6 seconds behind, and either one of them can score a World Championship point, because they're homing in 2-3 seconds a lap on Genet in 6th place. Hakkinen's finally had a wake-up call, and one of the other of them can still score a championship point. What else can happen this afternoon?
Well, if one or other of them does, he will take the lead again in the World Championship. They're tying on 60 points each at the present moment, and just that 1 point could tip the balance in the World Championship with 2 races left. Malaysia on October the 17th and the Japanese Grand Prix 2 weeks later on October the 31st. Race order: Herbert leads Trulli, Barrichello is 3rd and catching Trulli, Schumacher is 4th and catching Barrichello, Villeneuve is 5th, Genet is 6th, Irvine is 7th and catching Genet, Hakkinen is 8th and catching Irvine. In fact, he's right behind the Ferrari now. Let's have a look at it, Mr. Producer. Let's have a look at Irvine and Hakkinen.
The problem Barrichello here has got is that between him and Trulli is Trulli's teammate Panis, who I'm sure won't be that helpful, even though he's been booted out of the team for next year. So Barrichello, although he's got the blue flags to work in his advantage, he will be lapping Panis. Panis should move quickly out of the way, but Barrichello's going to have to leapfrog the first blue Prost before he can get at the 2nd blue Prost in 2nd position.
Well, Panis is 10th, and a lap down here is the battle between Hakkinen, who is 8th position, and Irvine, who is in 7th place, and they are potentially on a World Championship point if one or other of them we can get past Marc Genet, who is 9 seconds up the road. Eddie Irvine is driving for the championship, and so is Häkkinen. Wonderful stuff. But Häkkinen looks as though he's going to take the Ferrari as Pedro de la Rosa walks in.
Well, don't cut away to that. We want to see Eddie Irvine protecting the line there. Häkkinen, will he go around the outside? Surely there's not enough space for both of you. And, well, that was never going to quite be on, I don't think, Mika. But I don't think Mika Häkkinen deserves a point today. He's cruising around in the race, and he could have been so much. It's unforgivable, unless he had some kind of problem. If he did, it's not apparent now. Häkkinen easily the fastest man on the racetrack.
That's exactly what happened in the 3000 race yesterday, when Nick Heidfeld, in the same liveried car as Häkkinen, tried to do what Häkkinen has tried to do to Irvine, to Jason Watt, and he failed.
Well, that's where Häkkinen overtook Irvine, although they're in different positions last year. Häkkinen was up the inside, and to then go on and win the race. But I think Mika's car is more than fast enough to regroup and come back at Irvine over the next 4 or 5 laps.
And Eddie Irvine is now 10 seconds behind Marc Genet, and they're lapping at about the same speed at the same time. There's only half a second in it on the previous lap. But things will change. Lap 59, you can be sure of that. 66 lap race, 7 laps to go. Herbert is still 19 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli. And Trulli is holding off. Rubens Barrichello is out, goes Zonta. Zonta in the BAR, who was in 9th position, but rejoins the track and is still in 9th position. His teammate Jacques Villeneuve looks fittingly as though he's going to be the first man to score points for BAR. And Häkkinen is right back with Eddie Irvine as they come through to complete their 58th lap.
They actually lost a second to Genet on that lap. Genet and Minardi up the road in 6th because they were squabbling, but Häkkinen, as you can see, clearly got the faster car at the moment. I don't think he's near enough to have a stab into turn 1. He can only fake a bit of a move. His only chance really is once again into that Vidal chicane, another half a lap around. But Barrichello now stabilised a bit with Trulli, can't make anything up on him. This is a fight for 7th, which if they get their act together and move down the road, could be a fight for another World Championship point, which could be so crucial come the last race.
Yeah, but how Minardi deserved that point. They've fought so hard for so long with such a small budget, such a nice team, with Gustav Brunner, their designer, Giancarlo Minardi himself, and they will be sweating on Irvine and Häkkinen not catching their man, Marc Genet, the Spanish driver, whose highest point place so far is 8th position in Canada. So, lap 60 now, just look at this. Irvine's continuing to stave Mika Häkkinen off, but how much longer is he going to be able to do so? And is Johnny Herbert, there is the race leader on his 60th lap. He's got a very secure lead of 20 seconds, provided he can keep going. No, I'm not going to say the rest of it, I daren't.
Well, there won't be too many people winning the sweepstakes today. There could be a carryover to Malaysia, because I doubt people had Johnny back there. Where was he on the grid? 17th or something?
He was 14th.
14th on the grid. I doubt too many people had their money on Johnny today to win this race.
Well, now that's Jarno Trulli, and there is Johnny.
It's Barrichello, of course, still trying to home in on Trulli, but still got. Now, where is Panis around? Panis has been dropped, so it looks as if he's now got a straight run at Trulli in 2nd place.
As Irvine in 7th position and Häkkinen in 8th position continue to battle for track position, and what may be, but isn't necessarily going to be, that World Championship point, because Marc Genet is magnificently keeping ahead. As we look now at Rubens Barrichello with Jarno Trulli in front of him, this is the battle for 2nd position. Remember, a Stewart is leading. Is a Stewart now going to be 2nd? Rubens Barrichello forcing the pace, the man who's going to be driving for Ferrari next year. He will be looking to do the best he can for the Stewart team that's done so well for him. But Jarno Trulli too will be moving next year to Jordan. This is one of his last races for the Prost team. He's going to be very anxious to get World Championship points. He's only got 1 point so far, equal 15th in the championship. Terrific scrap. Johnny Herbert is still out there, lap 61. There are Irvine and Hakkinen 7th and 8th.
Yeah, Hakkinen, he's lost a bit of traction again coming out of that corner. The McLaren looking a bit weak around here on traction, but closer than he's been. Still don't think he's close enough to have a stab at Irvine. Nowhere near, actually, when they got down there. Somehow or other, that McLaren just not coming off the slow corners at all well.
And it is Eddie Irvine's 94th Grand Prix.
Here's the move, look, Barrichello trying the outside, truly rightly defending the inside, and as we saw with Hakkinen and Irvine, it's very difficult to go around the outside there.
Recap, lap 62, Herbert is out on his own, 20 seconds ahead. Terrific battle for second, here it is, Jarno Trulli-Prost. There is Zolter, who is being caught by Trulli. There is Trulli behind him, is Rubens Barrichello having a look as they go into turn 1, swarming all over the back of the Prost. Behind them, the battle is Ralf Schumacher, 4th position, 26 seconds behind this lot, 10 seconds ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, who is 8 seconds ahead of Genet, and Genet is looking very good indeed for that 6th position, because Eddie Irvine and Hakkinen are not making up more than half a second a lap on the Spaniard. Oh, dear me. So much that was unpredictable here at the Nürburgring. And Barrichello has another look.
I hope Genet gets that
biting his lips.
He's run out of nails.
Yeah, biggest nail biter in the business is Alain Prost.
He's obviously run out of nails. He's had to move on to the lips.
Chewed them up right down to the elbow, and there's the reason. Because Jarno Trulli is keeping... Oh, look at this. Trulli, Barrichello. Meantime, Johnny Herbert is on lap 63 in this 66-lap race, which looks like being an absolutely historic Grand Prix, irrespective of what happens from now on. Mika Hakkinen out of the points, and there is Jacques Villeneuve. So Marc Genet, Villeneuve retires yet again, fails to score the BAR team's first points. That's his top.
Look, here it is. This is close. Sorry to interrupt, Murray, but that was closer for second, and once again, truly defending magnificently. That means that Irvine and Hakkinen are now definitely scrapping over a World Championship point, but can Barrichello make it a 1-2 for Stuart Ford?
And Marc Genet is only 2 seconds ahead of the battle between Irvine and Hakkinen now. The Spaniard is losing his grip on that 6th World Championship point.
I think it's 7.3, isn't it? Genet was 2 seconds behind Villeneuve as they went over the line, so I think Irvine is 7.3. There's the Ferrari over the chicane. Hakkinen takes the place. Hakkinen takes what will be 6th place as they go over the line. Well, I'm looking down on it from a great height, but yes, I was right. Hakkinen takes that position. Irvine went scampering across the chicane, outbraked himself, and moves into a World Championship point.
And a World Championship lead if he finishes where he is now by 1 point at the present moment. As Jarno Trulli on lap 64 out of 66, implacably. Look at Paul Stewart, he's at the nail-biting business now, and Trulli and Barrichello together again at the chicane as they go through and complete their 63rd lap, and here is a replay.
Yeah, this is Irvine just completely braking too late, locking the front left, as you can see, takes to the escape road. Hakkinen remains on track and gets good grip out of there, and that's a pretty serious lock-up, Eddie. That's a bit amateur, I'm afraid, to keep your foot on the brake like that so long. You normally got a bit of cadence braking, you can get rid of some of that, but looking in his mirror thinking, no, he's going to pass.
Just to recap, Jacques Villeneuve has retired from a certain points position, and Jackie and Paul can hardly contain themselves, because now there are only 2 laps to go at the end of this one for Johnny Herbert in the lead, as we look at Ralf Schumacher in 4th position. He's not going to go any further up the order unless Herbert, Trulli or Barrichello have a problem. But this is the man who has driven an absolutely superb race, and here is the man who has driven an absolutely magnificent race, because it is Johnny Herbert from Romford, who lives in Monaco at the present moment with his wife Beth and the 2 children. And he's now on the 65th lap.
Oh, I think Barrichello's got a better shot this time. He really had some speed. I think if he brakes super late, he should turn in front of him. No, the back end was snaking too much on the downshift. And Barrichello, well, truly managing somehow, saying, OK, I'm going to brake when you do. You've got to run on me. You're not going to get through.
good stuff there from these pair. We're seeing some great drives from the drivers of the future. Ralf Schumacher today, Barrichello and Trulli here. It bodes well for Formula One. Mika Hakkinen now setting about finally, as the Grand Prix is about to come to an end. Look, Mika Hakkinen with Genet in front of him, suddenly realising there's 2 points to be had this afternoon, not just the one.
Yeah, this is going to be he's going to pass Genet, no doubt about that. In which case he'll finish 5th, which will put him 2 points ahead of Eddie Irvine. As Barrichello in the white car, Trulli in the blue one with the red mirrors, continued on lap 65, continued to fight for the 2nd place.
Rubens has got the faster car, but the problem he's got is that offline, it's wet, of course, so if he goes steaming in offline, for sure he'll lock his brakes and just go running wide onto the grass. So that's the problem for Rubens. He's got a very small... And that's Hakkinen taking 5th. Hakkinen up into 2 points, and Irvine 4.4 seconds down on Genet now. Can Irvine catch that Minardi now and get himself 1 point? Barrichello really very limited on where he can go to overtake this Prost, because it's being driven so defensively well.
Well, I have to say, I don't think that Mika Hakkinen, McLaren or David Coulthard have got all that much to be proud about in this race for all sorts of different reasons. But meantime, Johnny Herbert now in the Stewart is on his way home to an absolutely historic victory. It would be his 3rd win, as Barrichello still fights. He's got a problem behind him, of course, because Olivier Panis and Johnny Herbert is on the last lap now, as Barrichello has a last look, or is it?
The trouble is, if you do that, Rubens, if you go for too many of those moves when they're just not on, you'll lose ground, you're on the wrong line. But he's obviously just trying to distract Trulli, because he's not been able to shift him out of those defensive runs up the inside of corners. Now I thought he might just tag him at the back there. So Rubens now has got 1 chance left to pass this Prost before the end of that. You're absolutely right, Murray, before the chicane.
And Johnny Herbert is not so far from home now. But look at this, because Panis is pushing, he's a long way behind. And here is Johnny Herbert in the Stewart. Johnny Herbert in the Stewart turns into corner 13 and takes the checkered flag to win. And there is Jackie Stewart. Wow, oh, words fail me. Now is Barrichello going to take that 2nd place? I don't think so. But 1st and 3rd would do very nicely indeed for Stewart. What a fantastic... What amazing development. Barrichello is going to finish 3rd. So Stewart finished 1st and 3rd. Johnny Herbert wins the race. Trulli is 2nd. Barrichello is 3rd. Schumacher is going to be 4th. Who is going to be 5th, 6th and 7th?
That's what I want to see. Can Irvine pass Genet on the last lap and get that point? Will the Italians ask Genet to move over and give Irvine that World Championship point? So there's 4th place, man. Now, I want to see down the road and see whether Eddie Irvine... Yes, so 5th place will be Hakkinen. Can Irvine take Genet on this last lap? He was 2.5... No, I don't think he can. He was 2.5 seconds behind when he started the lap. So, brilliant drive from Herbert. Well done, Herbert. Jackie Stewart, Paul Stewart, the whole team. But Hakkinen over for 2. Quite unworthy points in my view. And Genet for a brilliant 1 point. 7th for Irvine, and well, that puts Minardi ahead of BAR in the World Championship.
And we're going for a break, but come back for the developments. ITV's man in the studio, Jackie Stewart, told Jim Rosenthal that if it didn't rain, they would be in good shape. It did rain, and they were in magnificent shape. 1st and 3rd. Stewarts have now finished 1st, 2nd and 3rd in Grand Prix in their 3-year history. Wonderful. Johnny Herbert wins his 3rd Grand Prix in his quite long career of 143 races. He started Grand Prix racing in 1989 with Tyrrell, and now Mika Hakkinen is 2 points ahead of Eddie Irvine with 20 points still to be won. The World Championship has got a long, long way to go. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, despite retiring in the lead, as you look at an overjoyed Marc Genet, who's won a World Championship point for Minardi, richly deserved too. Frentzen is 3rd in the World Championship. David Coulthard is 4th, and Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher are 5th and 6th.
Jackie Stewart won 27 of his 99 Grand Prix and 3 World Championships. He's just got a nasty habit of winning, hasn't he? And it's just taken his team 3 years to get on the top step, and that is remarkably fast. That's quicker than Jordan, and quicker than almost all the fresh teams we've seen in recent history.
Took Jordan 8 years to get there. Now, let us not forget that the Stewart won as a result of having a Ford Cosworth engine. That is Paul Stewart. And Cosworth have made an enormous contribution to this victory. It's now a Ford-owned company, as is Stewart. And Ford are putting the whole complex together under the Jaguar name next year to start off their 2000 year with a wonderful record behind them, a record of achievement, a record of victories. But you can see there the Constructors' Championship, there's still only 8 points in it, and if only Ferrari can get their act together, they could still win the Constructors' Championship, because there are 32 points to be won in the next 2 races. But never mind that, look at this, an historic picture. Stewart white overalls, Johnny Herbert the winner, as the British national anthem sounds out. For Mika Häkkinen and Monza, tears of joy for Paul Stewart at the Nürburgring, as Johnny Herbert gets his winning trophy from the Minister of the Interior of Sports, the man you were supposed to take round in the 2-seater McLaren, Martin.
No, didn't want to do the medical or something, but what a superb drive from Johnny Herbert. It was a race of attrition, it has to be said. Other people threw it away, and there were faster cars and faster combinations on the racetrack, but Johnny kept his head and kept it pointing in the right direction, and a win is a win, and there he is, and he won it by some 22 seconds, so it wasn't by the skin of his teeth by any means.
No, I mean, others fell off, but Johnny didn't. Johnny was there at the end when the checkered flag was shown, and that, after all, is what it's all. Look at Jackie Stewart on the left, taking the Constructors' Award for his victory in Europe. Oh, what a very, very happy man. And it's champagne time, and it's never been better deserved, and Jackie Stewart is going to be saturated in the stuff.
And don't ruin those lovely trousers, boys.
They don't care, but I suppose Jackie Stewart gives a darn either. The 2 teammates, and they are good mates, Johnny Herbert and Rubens Barrichello. Johnny Herbert from Romford, England, Rubens Barrichello from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Embrace the man from Scotland who's made it all possible as we go to a break.
You're back with us at the Nürburgring. Magnificent entertainment from the word go. Jackie Stewart, what a happy fellow. First win for his team. Here he is with Louise.
Jackie, a quick word with you. What a race and what a win.
Well, a great day for us, our first ever Grand Prix victory, still with the team colours on it as it was. We need a little bit of luck, but it was a hell of a race and we're very proud, and to have 2 on the podium is pretty sensational.
What were the feelings going through your mind in those final laps?
Well, I'm very happy. I mean, I never, you know, as a racing driver, I've always concerned myself that you might lose it even in the last lap, so I had myself fairly well under control.
Quick word from Paul as well, your reaction?
Just unbelievable. I mean, it's a fairy tale, you know, with everything changing for next year. To get a win for us was something that we always wanted to do. To get a win for the Stewart Ford team is absolutely amazing. Amazing doesn't describe it.
Well done.
Yeah, well done, Paul. Shed a tear after that. That was obviously before Jackie got his drenching. And there we are. There is the top 6 Look at that, some very unusual names in that. Johnny Herbert, really pleased for him, Trulli second. Rubens Barrichello, 2 out of 3 for the Stewarts. Ralf Schumacher, brilliant drive from him, really. Mika Hakkinen, the only one of the big 4 to score, and Marc Genet getting a point for Minardi. And this is how the Drivers' Championship looks. Just 2 to go, remember, and Hakkinen with a 2-point advantage now over Eddie Irvine. Okay, Tony, deep breath. Deep breath and sum it all up.
It's very difficult. I mean, there's not enough paper. We're running out of paper in here. Oh, of course. I mean, the first thing is for Herbert that he suffered so much this year with failures. Even in practice, you know, the car coasted to a halt as he came out of the pits with electrical failure. The guy is resolute. He's gone on. He's carried on smiling. His sense of humour's back. He says, I understand I do an impression of him, but I don't. It's unbelievable. And I think that's really, really deserving. But championship battle, that's a different matter.
Can you draw any conclusion about where this really leads the Big 4?
Well, I mean, it's still all open, really. There's still a chance even for David Coulthard. David Coulthard threw it away. I mean, he led in France when it was wet, and I thought he was going to do it, and then it just looked like he was pushing too hard, and he threw it away. But the big thing for me is Hakkinen. We did a piece on psychology. I think he needs a psychologist after all this, because he dropped his head like he did in Belgium and almost gave up, and we watched him. And then suddenly it was a wake-up call, and he came back into the race. And Irvine, comedy of errors for Ferrari.
OK, Tony, thank you very much indeed. Well, now that competition, we have teamed up with the Scottish Motor Show, due to be held in Glasgow in November, and we have some terrific prizes on offer.
It's the first Grand Prix of the 21st century and a great place for the race, and you could be there in the Melbourne sunshine. Our fantastic first prize is a VIP trip for you and a friend to next year's Australian Grand Prix with some great hospitality from the new Jaguar team. We've also got VIP packages for 5 pairs of runners-up, trips to the races in Barcelona, Manicourt, Silverstone, Hockenheim and Monza. And there are also 5 Sony widescreen TVs and 5 PlayStations to give away. All you've got to do, answer 2 simple questions with a distinctly Scottish theme. Which city is hosting the 99 Scottish Motor Show? Is it A, Edinburgh, B, Glasgow or C, Aberdeen? A, Edinburgh, B, Glasgow or C, Aberdeen? Question 2, how many F1 championships has Jackie Stewart won? Is it A, 1, B, 3 or C, 5? A, 1, B, 3 or C, 5. The number to dial 0900 122 9966. 0900 122 9966. And best of luck to you all.
A lot more reaction from here at the Nürburgring. Interviews, analysis from Tony Jardine as well in our highlight show just before midnight tonight, 11:45. Now, the Rugby World Cup starts this week here on ITV and on ITV2. Live coverage of 41 matches. The opening ceremony is in Cardiff on Friday, and after that the host Wales take on Argentina at the new Millennium Stadium. A terrific 5 weeks ahead of us.
The right decision to stay on the groove tyres. Problem was that the circuit was changing. It was raining in certain parts, and I don't believe I took what was a much quicker line into the corner when I went off, but it just seemed to be less grip. I locked up the wheel. Normal in itself would just mean you'd run in the gravel, but when I was in the gravel, it didn't seem to want to turn, and it felt like I was still being driven by the rear wheel, so I couldn't turn the car, and very disappointed and angry at myself for making this mistake, because, you know, leading a Grand Prix, you got 10 seconds in hand. It's a silly thing to do, so I'm sorry for that.
Only to have lost 1 point is incredible after really the performance of everybody this weekend. You know, we've made a few mistakes, and we got off very, very light.
It was a great opportunity for us to score 10 points today, but didn't happen.
What happened with the puncture?
Well, at the end, the tyre exploded. That was the rest of the day. But, I mean, you know, those things are happening, and we're looking forward to the next race now.
When I went out of the pit, I had a full ignition cut, and I need to find out exactly what was the cause for that problem.
A similar thing happened to your teammate, Damon Hill, of course. Do you think the two could be related?
Probably. We have to check that first, yeah.
I saw Pedro fly past me, and I was very worried, and then I was on the scene, of course, when they were seeing to him, so I was very concerned for him, but thankfully I'm really pleased to hear he's okay. But it was a real disaster. But I made a good start, and then I lost, basically I lost all the power to the car, and I was just unable to get out of the way of everyone.
Now, one final question I've got to ask you, continuing speculation that this is going to be your last race. Are we going to see you in Malaysia? What can you tell us?
I can't tell you anything at the moment.
He qualified well today. He had a new structure in the way he was going. This is really not the moment that I want to start discussing about Damon's future. It's really up to him as well as me to sit down and see what he wants to do.
But what's the feeling in your bones? Will he be in Malaysia?
I think we have discussed it. He has said that if we are sure about being in third place, he would discuss standing down to me. But, you know, I don't want to lead into some private conversations. That's as much Damon's decision as mine.
From the bottom of my heart, I feel happy for Johnny, because he's been having such a bad time. He's been very patient whenever I was on the podium. He didn't even score, you know. So he deserves. I mean, there's always someone on the top there watching for us, and I think he deserved it more than I did today.
And so Mika Häkkinen's fourth place takes the reigning champion 2 points clear of Eddie Irvine. Otherwise, no real change. Apart from Ralf Schumacher, he's overtaken his injured elder brother. And Häkkinen's contribution gives McLaren an 8-point cushion over struggling Ferrari. Jordan on 57. Now, Williams could still catch them, but it's very unlikely. 14, though, for the Stewarts, puts them right on the Williams' tail. Right, then let's have a word with Tony Jardine. Tell us about the Big Four, Tony.
Well, Häkkinen really has lucked in. It was a lacklustre performance by the Finn. I have to say, he dropped his head. David Coulthard seems to have thrown it away. Irvine, despite not scoring, he's still in there, just 2 points behind, so it's still all to play for. But Häkkinen was unbelievable, because on lap 19, the wet came down. It could have been a great gamble, but unfortunately it didn't work because the rain stopped and he came in for wet tyres. Team boss Ron Dennis saw an opportunity, and in he came. Irvine came in, he took slicks, he'd gone up to 5th place, absolutely great. 1 wheel short of a full Ferrari. Ferrari men cannot count. All the faith that he's put in them, all gone away there. And this is poor Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who'd led all the time, even had led chasing DC into the pit stops, come out, electrical failure. He stops, and he had put in a brilliant performance, so frustrated he bashed the steering wheel. The laid-back Heinz-Harald Frentzen, not Norman. Now, David Coulthard, who are absolutely chucking it away. I was so sad for him, but you could see he was pushing far too hard in the conditions on the dry tyres. Off he went, nudges his nose gently in there. He's going to have to obey team orders in Malaysia, I'm pretty sure of it.
They don't come much better than that, do they, Tony? But we mustn't forget there was a very nasty accident involving Pedro Diniz, who's okay, but it could have been a lot worse.
Well, I find this incredible. It was caused by Damon Hill, as you'll see in a second, because he was slowing down, bunching up the field. The laser goes the inside. There you see the unfortunate Diniz in the Sauber. He caught the rear end of Wirtz and Zanardi going past as well, but the roll hoop broke off. It's an integral part of the chassis. That should not happen. Look at this, because Wirtz has to veer past Hill there. Bang! He's caught the rear end, and over goes the Sauber and Diniz. He is such a lucky boy that that earth is soft, because his head must have been forced back inside the cockpit. The FIA will look very, very carefully at that, and you can see it all happening again. Slithering a lazy on the inside. Look at that incredible roll. It really is unbelievable. Poor old Diniz, if you remember, in '96 he escaped a very fiery Ligier, and the Sun put in the paper, Diniz in the oven. Thumbs up, that is a great sign. He's also got a very strong neck. All Grand Prix drivers do, because they've got necks twice the size because of the G-forces. And glad to see Pedro going into the back of the ambulance there, okay.
That's right, Tony. We had Jackie Stewart in here before the race. He didn't expect a win today. A great day for his team and for Britain's Johnny Herbert as well, though.
I think it's absolutely brilliant for Johnny Herbert, because he's been the hard luck story of this season. He was the hard luck story last season. He'd had those 2 wins in 1995 for Benetton, one at the British Grand Prix and one in the Italian Grand Prix. Here he is up there, as you say, before the demise of Stewart Grand Prix, and Jaguar takes a look at them in unison there. Barrichello finishing 3rd as well. Johnny Herbert, after his big accident in 1988, his 3rd Grand Prix win. Oh, that's absolutely brilliant for him, and great for Britain as well, with Jaguar coming onto the scene next year.
Absolutely great stuff. Tony, thank you very much indeed. So Johnny Herbert's first win, as Tony's been saying, since his Benetton days back in 1995. It's been a long time coming. He's had a lot of bad luck, but here he is now talking driver to driver with Martin Brundle.
When you got up this morning, did you expect to be sitting here smelling of champagne?
Probably not, I must admit. No, well, the weekend's been a bit, we sort of went for the choice of the hard tyre. We got that lowly grid position, and then the race, we thought we could maybe get some points out of it, but I think just the way the weather turned, it basically went into my favour, because I did a very shrewd but maybe lucky choice of when I came in for my only stop. it just started to rain down the far end. The wind's been blowing dead straight over the circuit. And there was this big black cloud, so it had to go completely over the track, and it did, and that basically made my race.
Well, the world's eyes were on the 4 championship contenders, and then, as you said, you had the right tyres on and made the best of them. Yeah. Do you make that call, or is that team decision, or what happened there today?
Well, on that time, I made the call because I was very, very fortunate, I have to say, because as I got down to the far end, down to the hairpin, it just started to throw it down, and I was coming in. So for me, it actually made it so much easier for me because I knew it was just going to go across the track. So as soon as I came in, I said, right, it's raining so hard, I think I'm going to go for wets.
And you lapped Hakkinen at one point.
Yeah, which is pretty nice, I must admit.
And so Johnny Herbert leads them home after 100 minutes of compelling drama. Truly second, best ever for him and Prost. Barrichello putting the second Stewart on the podium. Ralf Schumacher fourth, he'll win a Grand Prix soon. Hakkinen fifth with the fastest lap late on. Genet makes his first point for Minardi. Irvine seventh, unusually out of the points. Zonta eighth for BAR, Panis in the second, Prost. Villeneuve, the last classified finisher, although like Badoer and De La Rosa, he'd stopped with gearbox trouble. Fisichella crashed out in the lead. The brakes failed on Salo's Ferrari. Takagi also crashed out. So did Coulthard when he was leading. Alesi's transmission failed. Frenson's electrics went. Zanardi had an accident, and Hill's electrical failure caused the early departure of Alexander Wurz, and finally Pedro Diniz. Your next Formula One action, 3 weeks' time. Brand new circuit in Sepang, the Malaysian Grand Prix. The full ITV coverage throughout the weekend. The action never stopped here at the Nürburgring. Well done to Johnny Herbert and the stewards, but the identity of the world champion is still a mystery that will be revealed in Malaysia and Japan. Good night.
Come on, go this time, yes!
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Level 3 Communications is www.itv-f1.com.